Story 1.
My daughter urged me to cheat on my husband. Now he's gone, and I'm left with ashes and regret. Sitting at my desk, I started reflecting on the 30 years since Maggie and I got married, rewinding the memories to our honeymoon and all those wonderful moments that stand out in my life. Remembering that time in Hawaii with Maggie fills me with nostalgia and gratitude. It was truly amazing, a captivating chapter that I'll always cherish. Right from the beginning, it felt like we entered a magical world, leaving behind the everyday hustle and bustle, and finding a peace that's hard to describe. Walking along Waikiki Beach with the sand between our toes and the sound of the waves whispering secrets, we were surrounded by beauty. The air was filled with the sweet scent of plumeria, a constant reminder of the love and tranquility enveloping us. But it wasn't just the stunning views that made our honeymoon unforgettable. It was the moments we shared. Exploring lush jungles and discovering hidden waterfalls felt like encountering treasures of Mother Nature. Standing together, we were in awe of the beauty and power surrounding us. Our cliffside retreat in Maui was breathtaking, with views that seemed to go on forever. Every sunset painted the sky with vibrant colors, and holding each other close, we felt overwhelmed with love and devotion. Evenings were like a romantic melody, with candlelit dinners on the beach under a starry sky, enjoying fresh seafood and local delicacies. But what truly made it magical was seeing the love shining in Maggie's eyes. Hawaii wasn't just a destination for us. It became the heart of our love story, filled with moments and dreams we shared. Looking back on our honeymoon, I'm reminded of the beauty and depth of our relationship, reigniting our love, strengthening our bond, and giving us moments of pure happiness and peace. I hold on to these memories from our time in that lover's paradise with immense gratitude in my heart. 30 years later, deep in thought, my secretary walked in and found me staring out the window. "Jason, what's making you so happy lately? Win the lottery?" she joked. It hit me that I'd been smiling and content for 2 weeks. I shared that my wife had been especially loving and attentive, making me feel valued and loved again. After years, it felt like a second honeymoon, and I couldn't wait to spend more time with her, acting like a teenager in love. I didn't want this happiness to end. Maggie and I have a solid marriage, but after 30 years, excitement can fade into routine. Yet Maggie had been unusually affectionate, seeking intimacy almost every night, and bringing back aspects of our relationship we hadn't explored in years. I never suspected her affections meant anything beyond rekindling our marriage. I planned a surprise romantic evening, leaving work early with a smile. I got 24 roses, her favorite wine, and chocolate-covered cherries. Tonight, I'll show my love and surprise her with a 7-night cruise to celebrate our enduring love. Entering the house through the garage, I went up the kitchen steps. Instead of finding my wife Maggie, our 29-year-old daughter Brandy sat at the table. I smiled, kissed her forehead, and asked, "Hey baby, where's your mom?" 2 weeks earlier, Brandy had a conversation with her mother. "Mom, I'm not sure about this. I love Dad very much, and I'm afraid that if I go through with this, I'll hurt him." "Brandy, Dad loves you, and he will understand. You yourself said that you need something more than what you've had before, and Dad is not getting any younger. I know he will understand your needs and allow you to have this one-time pleasure." "Mom, there's no way I can face Dad and tell him I'm going on a date with another man. I just can't do it." "Then let me do it. Alexander will be waiting for you at the restaurant at 7 in the evening, and you'll be ready to leave by 6. When Dad gets home, I'll explain everything to him, and you'll get the experience you crave." "Honey, I agreed to this date, but I have doubts. This feels wrong, and I shouldn't go. How will I be able to look your father in the eye for the next 2 weeks, knowing that I agreed to go on a date with another man?" "Well, I suggest you don't tell him anything. Show him how much you love him during these 2 weeks. Let him know he has nothing to worry about, and when I explain everything, he'll understand it's not about love, just new friendships and a little fun. Reach out to him, rock his world, and when I explain the situation that evening, he'll welcome you back with open arms. Dad loves you and is ready to do anything for you. He always gave you what you wanted, showing his love for you." "Probably, yes. Maybe you're right. It's just one date, and it doesn't mean I'm leaving your father for another man. Having a fun night out after 30 years shouldn't be a problem. I'm going to show your dad how wonderful he is and how much I love him every night until date night. Then when I get back, I'll try to make him the happiest man in the world. Mom, just make him feel loved and appreciated. He's a great guy and will give you this one-of-a-kind experience. Now, I have to get home to cook dinner for Mike." "Thanks, baby, and say hi to Mike. When will you two give us grandchildren?" "Soon. We've already talked and plan to start working on it in a few months," Brandy said before heading home. Maggie found herself alone in the art studio Jason had built for her behind their house, facing his latest project. Lately, she struggled with creativity, burdened by thoughts of being with another man. However, Brandy's advice echoed in her mind, and suddenly her brushes danced on the canvas, breathing life into vibrant colors and emotive landscapes. Confident she was doing right by herself, Maggie sat in solitude, feeling peace wash over her guilt. Jason might be upset initially, but I believe I can make him see that I truly adore him, and he's been an exceptional husband and father. I'll be the best wife and demonstrate my love for him. That evening, as part of her plan to shower him with affection, Maggie adorned his favorite baby doll nightgown after her shower, styled her hair, and applied makeup. Greeting Jason as he returned home, Maggie, clad in the nightgown and heels, guided him to the bedroom where she undressed him, surprising him with a long-neglected act of enthusiasm. She pleased him below the belt, and his smile filled her with warmth and happiness, prompting her to wonder why she hadn't done this sooner. "Jason, this was the best welcome home in a long time. What's the occasion, honey?" "I just wanted to show you how special you are and how much I love you." "Did you enjoy it?" "I did. It's been so long that I forgot how much I missed it." They drew each other onto the bed, sharing passionate kisses for minutes. It was the most fulfilling intimacy they had experienced in years, leading Maggie to reconsider her date with Alexander. Over the following weeks, their intimacy reached new heights, and Jason transformed into a happier man, smiling, laughing, and displaying affection as before. Maggie found herself happier than she had been in a while and began to reconsider her plans for the date night. She even discussed the positive changes with Brandy, questioning if she still needed the planned experience. "Mom, this is fantastic, but don't rush to cancel yet. Let's see how the next 2 weeks unfold. Just enjoy each other and see where it goes. There's no need to cancel just yet. We'll reassess in 2 weeks, and you can always cancel last minute. I'm sure Alexander will understand, but remember, this opportunity may not come again." "All right, maybe you're right. Remind me about Alexander's situation." "I know he's your friend's father, but tell me more about him." "Sure thing, Mom. When his wife Mary was diagnosed with an inoperable brain tumor, he took time off work and stayed by her side until her passing. She was the love of his life, and after her death, he was lost. He became depressed and withdrew from everything except work. When Mary and I suggested he start dating, he confessed he didn't know how to be with anyone else. Listening to him made me tear up, and I realized I might have a solution for both of you." Brandy proceeded to tell her mother about Alexander's deep admiration for her and how he longed for companionship. She described their conversation and Alexander's eagerness to meet Maggie. "So you see, Mom, he thinks you're beautiful and would love to spend time with you. I'll give him your number, and you two can arrange a date. He's about 10 years younger than you, and I know you'll hit it off. He just needs someone to communicate with and befriend, and I believe you can help each other." The next day, Alexander called Maggie, and after a wonderful conversation, he invited her to become his companion and spend the night with him. When he complimented her beauty in the photo and expressed how wonderful it would be for her to go on a date with him, she felt like a schoolgirl. The excitement of doing something so different and his flirting made her feel butterflies in her stomach. She agreed to the date and told him that she was looking forward to meeting him. He said he would pick her up, but she replied that she would prefer to meet him at the restaurant. They texted each other daily and flirted more and more as the evening of their date approached. By the event of the date, Maggie's text messages would not have withstood the simplest test of a wife's fidelity. She was constantly excited, imagining what she had to do. She tried not to forget about Jason, and every evening she put more and more energy into their lovemaking. Now Jason walked around with a grin on his face, and Maggie walked around with an uncontrollable desire for sex. This was a new level that she enjoyed beyond her dreams. "I loved my daughter and considered her the most beautiful girl in the world. I was so proud of how she had developed into the woman she has become today. I wish I had spent more time with her as she grew up. But I worked hard to give them a good life and tried to always be there for her as much as possible." I smiled when I saw her, but I was embarrassed. "Sweetheart, what are you doing here, and where's your mom?" I asked. She watched as I set down 24 roses, a bottle of wine, and a box of chocolates. "I've got a special surprise for your mom tonight, and I can't wait to see her." I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out travel plans and tickets for a 7-day cruise on the new yacht. "I'm whisking your mom away on a 7-day cruise, and I can't wait to see the look on her face when she finds out." "Don't say anything when she gets home. I want to surprise her," Dad said. Hearing her call me Daddy always made me smile, remembering her as a little girl sitting on my lap. But something seemed off. Tears welled in her eyes and she was out of breath, clearly worried about what she had to tell me. "Dad, we need to talk," she said, a tear sliding down her cheek. Concern flashed across my face. "What's wrong? Is something the matter with Mom?" "No, Mom's fine. Please sit down and let me explain," I replied. After a pause, she spoke again. Dad, you know how much Mom loves you, and she told me how great things have been between you two lately. Yes, and I love her too. That's why I want to show her how much she means to me. Seeing her tears, I realized her news wasn't what I expected. I'm really sorry, Daddy, but Mom went on a date. I sat in stunned silence, trying to process her words. Her tears flowed as anger ignited within me. Brandy, what are you saying? Where's your mom? I demanded, my voice loud enough to make her recoil in fear. Mom loves you very much, Daddy, and I hope you won't take this the wrong way, but Mom went on a date with another man and won't be back until tomorrow. She couldn't tell you herself, so I volunteered to break it to you because she didn't want to hurt you. It's just one night, and she'll be back tomorrow. Is this some kind of joke? I can't believe this. Your mother would never do anything to betray me like this. We were so close and loving. This can't be real. Dad, she loves you. She just needed something more in life at least once after 30 years of marriage. Nothing's changing between you two, except she might love you even more for understanding. I stared at my daughter. Brandy, why are you involved in this? Your mom shouldn't have dragged you into it, and I should be talking to her, not you. How did she get you into all this? Dad, Mom and I have always been close, and we tell each other everything. She said things had slowed down between you two in the bedroom, and she no longer felt desired. My friend's dad lost his wife a few years ago, and he also needed companionship, so I sort of introduced them. I stood up abruptly, knocking over my chair. What on earth? Are you serious? You set your mom up on a date with another man? Is that what you're telling me? Lowering her head and staring at the floor, she stayed silent. Meanwhile, I paced back and forth in the kitchen, trying to grasp the situation. Damn it, Brandy, answer me, I yelled, towering over her. Did you set this up? Is my wife your mother on a date with your friend's dad because of you? At my angry outburst, saliva flew out of my mouth. I'm really sorry, Daddy, but yes, it sounds bad when you say it like that, but I did it out of love for my friend's parents. Holy hell, what have you done? Love for your friend's parents? What about your love for me? Am I just some trash you can disregard and expect me to accept whatever you come up with? Where is she now, and why did you say she won't be back until tomorrow? Dad, they went to a restaurant, I don't know which one, and then they're spending the night together. Just this once. She'll be back tomorrow, and Daddy, she loves only you. She's been telling me for the past 2 weeks how much she loves you and doesn't want you to get hurt. It's just one date and one night. She thought you'd understand and give her this one chance. So is that it? I believed her newfound affection over the last 2 weeks was genuine, but now you're saying it was just her way of alleviating guilt? Well, this won't end well, I assure you. Still in tears, she pleaded, Dad, it's not like that at all. She never pretended or hurt you. On the contrary, she did everything possible to show you she loved you. Daddy, can't you give her one night? You know she loves you and can't imagine life without you. She mentioned how she looked forward to your retirement and spending time with your grandchildren. Mike and I plan to have kids, and we need both of you. Well, isn't that ironic? That ship sailed when she agreed to go on a date with someone who isn't me. Who is this guy? He's my friend Mary's dad, and he's really nice. You'll like him, Daddy. I think you have a lot in common. Oh, sure, we could be best pals. So, you think I could befriend a man who knowingly dates a married woman, my wife? Maybe we can be drinking buddies, and I can let him borrow your mom on weekends. Is that your plan for me? Brandy slumped into her chair, realizing a grave mistake in her plan. My anger, expressed in words she never wanted to hear, shook her to her core, sending a chill down her spine as she cowered. After pacing the room, I managed to regain control. Turning to my daughter with venom in my voice, my hurt and anguish were evident, making her feel small and culpable for her part in the ordeal. Listen carefully, Brandy. Leave now. I need time alone to comprehend what you two did to me tonight. I don't want to see or hear from you. No calls, no messages ever. Your betrayal is unforgivable. You are dead to me. Understand? I'm no longer your father and you're no longer my daughter. Get out of my house and never speak to me again. Brandy wept openly, her head in her hands. Dad, please don't say that. I love you, and I want to stay here tonight. Mom and I planned for me to stay with you. We don't want you to be alone. The disrespect you've shown makes me question if you ever truly respected or loved me as your father. You're your mother's daughter. I worked tirelessly all these years to provide for you both, and this is the thanks I get? Turns out I'm just a meal ticket, never earning respect from either of you. Amid tears and sobs, she pleaded, Dad, I love you. Please reconsider. Let Mom explain everything tomorrow. You've had 30 wonderful years together, and I know you love her. Give her this one thing, and she won't leave you, Daddy. She loves you. She can have whatever she wants, but she'll never have me again. Forgiveness is beyond me, Everyone involved will face consequences, including the man who took my wife. Now go. You've shown your true colors. You still have your mother. Nothing changes for you two, Brandy. You're no longer my daughter. Leave." With tears streaming down her face, she fled the house in agony, a pain she had never known. She never imagined her father's reaction would be so severe. Had he truly disowned her? For the first time, she realized she may have crossed a line in helping her mom with this scheme. She knew he loved them both, but his fury was clear, and she prayed for his forgiveness. Right after Brandy left, I dialed Maggie's cell, but it went straight to voicemail. I left multiple messages pleading for her to call back and come home. When my calls went unanswered, even after a few drinks, I resorted to texting her the same plea. Still no response. By 2 a.m., it dawned on me she wasn't coming back or answering my calls. Exhausted from self-pity, I stared blankly at the TV, bombarded with more bleak news. My world was transforming into a nightmare instantly. Reflecting on our 30-year marriage, the highs, the milestones, the once frequent intimacy now replaced by routine, I felt a pang of loss. Though our sex life had become predictable, there were no complaints, and post-coitus, we always embraced, drifting off in each other's arms. Daily, we exchanged I love yous and rarely argued. Yet now, it seemed those words held little significance. Hearing out at the art studio I built for Maggie, a sanctuary where she poured her creativity for 2 decades, I realized it held more importance than I did. Though proud of her achievements, I felt relegated to the sidelines. But her happiness mattered most to me. The talk with Brandy hit me like a ton of bricks. Learning she wanted to be with another man blindsided me, no warning at all. Despite years of hard work to support my family, I failed to notice she wasn't happy with our marriage. It stung to know she shared this with Brandy instead of talking to me, fueling my anger and humiliation. Reflecting on my life, home, and future, I remembered the house and property I inherited from my grandfather, solely in my name before our marriage. No mortgage made me think. Fueled by alcohol and fury, I plotted ways to hurt Maggie like she hurt me. Staring out at her studio, a surge of strength washed over me, perhaps from alcohol or the pain of betrayal. With renewed vigor, I sprang into action. I made countless trips to our bedroom, gathering all of her belongings and relocating them to the studio, shoes, clothes, jewelry, all piled in the center. I then gathered photo albums, including our wedding pictures, placing them at the top of the heap. Remembering items in the attic, I retrieved her wedding dress, baby clothes, and more, adding to the growing mound. It amazed me how much she had amassed over the years. I removed her pictures from the walls and added them to the pile, sculptures, sketches, all her cherished possessions, now part of the ever-expanding heap. It was already 5 a.m., and I felt tense. I decided to wait until 6 a.m. before taking action, giving her a chance to return or respond to my calls and messages. If I didn't hear back or she wasn't home, I'd proceed with my plan. I double-checked the house, ensuring everything important to her was in the studio. At 5:30, I fetched a 20L gasoline can from the garage and headed to the studio, preparing for 6 a.m. In the meantime, I went online, canceled our joint credit cards, transferred money to our accounts, withdrew cash from the safe, and packed a few suitcases, loading them into my truck. I planned to stay away until the lawyer sorted things out, giving her another 5 minutes to return. At 6:05, with my last hope fading, I poured gasoline over the pile and along the studio walls. After a deep sigh and brief hesitation, I lit a match, igniting her belongings. The fire spread fast, visible from the street. Before I could escape, her world burned swiftly. Driving along the highway, a profound realization hit me, accentuated by my distraught state. Overwhelmed by sorrow, tears flowed. It dawned on me that my once happy marriage had met the same fate as the studio, consumed by flames. Unexpectedly, the fire spread to the back porch, endangering the house. Thankfully, firefighters contained the blaze, saving the house from complete destruction. However, it suffered significant smoke damage and required repairs before it could be lived in again. Meanwhile, I checked into a highway motel, 90 miles away from the charred remnants of my marriage, paying in cash to avoid detection. Exhausted and overwhelmed, I turned off my phone and collapsed into bed, falling into a deep sleep until noon. Upon waking, I found dozens of missed calls and texts from Brandy, Maggie, and the sheriff. After exiting the Uber, I met Alexander at the restaurant. Feeling both nervous and excited to see the handsome young man waiting for me at the reception desk. He smiled upon seeing me, appreciating my little black dress, black sheer tights, and matching high heels. His gaze lingered on my exposed cleavage, accentuated by my black bra. Earlier in the day, I had spent several hours at the salon to ensure my hair and makeup were perfect. I wanted this one occasion to be thrilling, unforgettable, and flawless for him. My companion seemed pleased with what he saw, and the way he adjusted his growing manhood underscored his reaction. Feeling more confident as I realized he liked what he saw, I greeted him with a tender kiss. We started at the bar, sitting on bar stools, and when I stood up, I noticed his gaze on my nylon-covered legs down to my panties. We exchanged smiles as he ordered our drinks. Deciding to switch off my phone to avoid any interruptions, I was aware that this night was a one-time event and resolved to savor every moment. There was undeniable chemistry between us, and we conversed as if we were old friends. I found myself touching his arm and flirting, actions I seldom did with anyone, including Jason. I was determined to unleash my inner confidence and relish the experience. After finishing our second glass, the gracious hostess informed us that our table was ready and escorted us to our seats. The dinner was delightful, and I enjoyed our conversation and time together. When he inquired if I still wanted to spend the night with him, I removed my heels and teasingly placed my foot between his legs. His smile widened upon noticing my red toenails peeking through the sheer nylon covering my foot, and he suggested it was time to depart. Holding hands, he led me to his pre-booked hotel room. As the elevator doors opened on the 14th floor, the reality of what I was about to do hit me, and fleeting thoughts of Jason crossed my mind. Sensing my hesitation, Alexander pulled me close to his sturdy frame. Meeting his gaze, he bestowed upon me a romantic kiss unlike any I'd experienced before. In that moment, all thoughts of my husband and marriage faded away. Tonight, I belonged to him, ready to embrace and revel in this experience. Once in the room, he wasted no time in unzipping my dress. When it dropped to the floor, he shed his own clothes and stood before me. Spinning me around, he praised my appearance and removed my bra before laying me on the bed. The experience was so sensual and loving that I eagerly anticipated what would come next. Kneeling, I devoted 10 minutes to admiring his physique. Overwhelmed, he swiftly removed my pantyhose and insisted I put my heels back on, finding them alluring, which made me feel somewhat provocative. Throughout our intimacy, he showered me with kisses, displaying remarkable skill. Fleetingly, I thought I should get Jason to do this, it's so enticing. Oh no, comparing again, enough. Locking eyes, he uttered, "I love you, Maggie." His unexpected declaration deeply touched me, evoking an almost religious feeling that moved me to tears of joy. We made love several times that night, and once more in the morning, each encounter as passionate as the last. It marked the pinnacle of my sexual experiences, and I was content for allowing it with Alexander. As thoughts of Jason intruded, I endeavored to focus on the man embracing me tightly. Bathed in sunlight filtering through the curtains, he tenderly kissed me and caressed my hair. "Maggie, as I mentioned last night, I meant it. You're incredible, so sensual and sexy, and I think I love you. I want to spend more time with you. Can we see each other again?" Apprehension gripped me, and I responded gently, "Alexander, it was amazing, and you're a wonderful man, but I'm happily married and I can't repeat this. It was a one-time thing and I cherished it. You were fantastic, you're a great lover, and I relished every moment. Maggie, please consider it before you reject me. Your husband doesn't seem to mind, and I can make you happy. Just think about it, please, before you decide." "Okay, I'll think about it, but for now, this is the best I can offer." With another deep kiss, he held me close, and I surrendered to his embrace. If I weren't married to Jason, I'd be with Alexander in an instant. But Jason is my husband, and I hoped he could forgive me for what I had just done. After breakfast, we left the hotel, and as Alexander drove me home, I decided to turn on my phone, which had been off since our date the previous night. To my shock, it was flooded with missed calls and texts. Among the messages, Jason struck me particularly hard, inducing a sharp sense of guilt. The realization that his suffering, for which I felt responsible, brought tears to my eyes. Before I had a chance to proceed to the next message, my phone rang just as we were entering my neighborhood. It was my child, urgently inquiring about my whereabouts. I reassured them, saying I was nearly home, only to be informed of a fire at our house. The news had been trying to reach me all night, apparently, but my phone had been off. My immediate concern shifted to their father, who, according to my child, was missing. No one knew of his whereabouts, and he wasn't responding to calls. With a sinking feeling, I promised to call back as soon as I arrived, deeply troubled by the unfolding situation. When Alexander turned the corner onto my street, I saw a fire truck and police in front of our house. I didn't see any damage at the front of the house and asked the firefighters, "What happened? Are you the owner of the house?" he asked. Since all the neighbors were watching me as I stood with an unfamiliar, handsome man, my companion said, "Yes, I'm Maggie Spencer." "Well, Mrs. Spencer, we were able to save the house. Only the back porch was damaged, but I'm afraid you won't be able to stay here until you call the experts to clean up the smoke from inside your house. The majority of the damage was to the small cottage behind your home. I'm afraid it's completely lost." I felt my legs give out when Alexander caught me and helped me sit on the curb. "My studio, is she damaged?" "Sorry, Mrs. Spencer. All that's left of her is smoldering ashes. We'll try to figure out the cause of the fire, but in the meantime, the police detective has a few questions for you." I quickly stood up and ran to the back of the house before Sergeant Wilson could ask me any questions. He caught up with me as I stood in front of the remains of my most prized possession. I immediately knew that Jason must have done this as revenge for my actions. "Mrs. Spencer, do you know what happened here?" asked Sergeant Wilson. "No, I wasn't there last night, and I have no idea about anything." "Are you her husband?" he asked, turning to Alexander. "No, just a friend." I felt my face turn red with embarrassment as the sergeant gave me a knowing look and asked where my husband was. I said I didn't know. When he asked where I was last night, I timidly said that I was with Alexander at the Hilton Hotel in the city center. The looks thrown at me by the sergeant and his assistant made me realize the seriousness of my situation. I had just admitted that I didn't spend the night with my husband, who had also disappeared. The detective now had questions. "Mrs. Spencer, are you and your husband separated? Do you know where he was last night?" "No, we are a happily married couple," I replied. And then I realized how stupid it sounded after admitting I spent the night with another man. "Do you know where he is?" "No, he doesn't answer calls." "We'll want to talk to him, so when you talk to him, please give him my number," he said, handing me his business card. I was shaking with anger and fear. Anger at the loss of my refuge and all the work I had created over the years. Everything was gone forever. Fear, thinking that Jason could be so angry as to do this, and what it would mean for my marriage. I needed to talk to him as soon as possible. I called Brandy. "Brandy, do you know where your father is?" "No, I haven't talked to him since yesterday evening." "Why didn't you stay here with him like we planned, Mom?" "He threw me out and said that I was no longer his daughter." Hearing these words, I felt a chill rush through my body. Jason would never utter such words, and if he did, it would be even worse than I imagined. Upon entering the house, I noticed smoke damage on the walls and detected a foul odor lingering in our home. It was evident that living here under such conditions was impossible. As I traversed through our residence, I decided to gather clothes and some personal items for a few days. However, upon entering the bedroom, I was alarmed to find everything missing, causing panic to surge within me. Realizing that all my clothes, shoes, and personal belongings were gone, my heart sank. I searched my nightstand for my wedding rings, only to find them absent. Why had I left my rings behind? What was I thinking? If Jason saw them on my dresser, he might have assumed I had abandoned him and our marriage. How foolish and selfish of me. In a state of complete panic, I frantically searched every room in the house, only to discover that all my possessions were gone. A dreadful thought crossed my mind. Had he truly destroyed everything? Was there nothing left? Rushing out of the house, I returned to the studio to examine the remnants more closely. Amidst the debris, I spotted picture frames and partially destroyed clothing. It was evident that Jason had not merely accepted my absence, but had obliterated everything significant to me, effectively cutting me out of his life in one swift blow. I called Brandy in tears, recounting what had transpired and expressing my need for a place to stay. Alexander swiftly offered me accommodation, but he was the last person I wanted to see. Politely, I declined, explaining that I needed solitude and requesting him to leave. Hurt by my abruptness, he departed, leaving me to lament my actions and the man with whom I had spent the night. Though I knew I was at fault, I couldn't help but blame him for my selfish act of betrayal, when the true blame lay with me. "Brandy, I've lost your father." "Mom, don't say that. Dad loves you." "Honey, he burned everything, my clothes, paintings, and studio. Everything. He left me with nothing, not even a place to live. He ignores my calls and won't pick up. I've hurt him the most, and I don't blame him. What I did is unforgivable. I shouldn't have gone on that date. I should have just talked to him. We could have worked things out, but my selfishness drove him away. If I were in his shoes, I wouldn't be able to take me back. What do I do now? I have no home or clothes." "Mom, don't blame yourself. I share some of the blame, and you can stay with us until your house is restored. We'll buy you new clothes this afternoon and get you settled in by evening." "Brandy, all my artworks, paintings, and sculptures are gone. 30 years of marriage and 2 decades of my artistic creations were destroyed, leaving me utterly alone. I have nothing left to live for." Maggie openly sobbed as neighbors glanced at her from the street. "Oh God, your father is calling. I'll call you back." Struggling with the buttons, desperately attempting to answer the call, she nearly collapsed, but at the last moment, she managed to connect. "Jason, is that you?" Hi Maggie, how are you? Jason, where are you? Please come home, we need to talk. No Maggie, I already know everything from your daughter. Yes, your daughter, not mine. You both are dead to me, and this might be our final conversation. Jason, please don't say that. I love you, you should know this. Jason, the studio is gone. Did you do this? Maggie, you did it, not me. Perhaps not physically, but it burned from your deceit and betrayal. When I saw your wedding rings discarded and you giving yourself to another, in my heart, you died. Your actions are unforgivable, and Brandy's involvement is humiliating and beyond comprehension. We're finished. I'll meet with lawyers on Monday to initiate proceedings. Please, Jason, can't we talk and resolve this? You can't just discard our 30 wonderful years like this. Maggie, we are talking. And I'm not the one who discarded our 30 wonderful years. You planned betrayal, showered me with 2 weeks of affection to alleviate your guilt, and then betrayed me with your daughter's assistance. There's no person on this earth who could accept or forgive such treachery and betrayal. It was pure evil, and I hope you regret it for the rest of your miserable life. This is our last conversation. You can reach me through my attorney's details, which will be provided with the divorce decree. Goodbye, Maggie. Jason, no, wait, Jason. Jason was gone, and so was the world I cherished. Brandy arrived just as I was on the phone calling Jason, who had already hung up. We embraced each other, crying over our loss. Finally, we realized we couldn't stay in the wreckage of my home while the fire and police did their investigation, so we headed to Brandy's house. Upon arrival, she briefed Mike on everything, shocking him with the details. Brandy tried to explain it all, but when Mike discovered his wife had arranged a date for her friend's father with her own mother, he was both appalled and furious. Brandy, you set up a date for your mom with another man, knowing Dad would be left alone? You should have known he'd never accept that. What kind of man lets his wife go on a date with someone else? Is this what you plan to do when we're older? Will you willingly betray me like Mom did to Dad? He was such a great guy, and you and Mom were his whole world. What have you done, Brandy? Let me tell you, you ruined a good man and forced him into doing unimaginable things. I can't express how disappointed I am in you, Brandy. I'll reach out to him and apologize for your foolishness. Once this is all over, you and I need to talk about our future together. Having kids with you is on hold until I figure out where you stand. I'll be straight with you, I don't share your values and I won't stand for this kind of betrayal. His anger shocked her, surprised by his lack of understanding for her mother's situation. It was just one date after 30 years of marriage, for heaven's sake. So what? Later, she realized the real issue was the end of her parents' marriage, her father's loss, and her mother's shattered happiness. Soon, they'd all face the consequences of her actions. 5 long days later, I returned home to assess the damage. I opted against filing an insurance claim to avoid more potential costs. In my lawyer meeting, I made it clear the house was mine, not up for debate. Maggie could have half our savings, but no child support. If she resisted, I'd sue for adultery, exposing her affair with her daughter's friend's father. Divorce papers were already in motion. I also sought advice on criminal arson charges, but learned without an insurance claim it likely wouldn't proceed unless I made a false report. A neighbor who Brandy went to school with phoned her when she saw me return home and go inside. Brandy hurried over to me. I was checking the damage and figuring out what repairs the house needed when I heard the front door open. Dad, where are you? Bry's voice echoed through the house as she entered. I stayed silent, focused on assessing the damage. Looking out the window at the pile of ashes that was once Maggie's sanctuary, I couldn't help but smile. Brandy found me in one of the bedrooms and rushed over, wrapping me in a hug. Daddy, I'm so sorry. Please forgive us. We love you. Brandy, I can't forgive either of you. I already said not to talk to me again. Please let me go and leave me alone. You say you're my daughter and I must forgive you? Listen, you're no longer my daughter, just a deceitful person who broke my heart. Now leave me alone. Dad, Mom needs you. She's living with us and misses you terribly. She cries all the time and wants to apologize to you for her mistake. Can you come to our house and see her? Never. When she went on that date and stayed with another man, our marriage ended. She even left her wedding rings behind, sealing the end of our marriage. It's done, and I won't speak to her again. Both of you can reach me through my lawyer. I'll get a new phone and number today. But for now, you should go and be with your cheating mother. Are you really willing to throw away 30 years of happiness with Mom? No, not me. Your mother threw away those 30 years as soon as she took off her rings and went to her lover. It was you and your mother who destroyed my 30 years of happiness, and for that, I'll never forgive or forget. Now, get out of my house. For the second time, Brandy ran out of her childhood home in tears. Her dad's words declaring she was no longer his daughter were devastating. Even years of therapy couldn't erase the pain of his words. The following day, Maggie received divorce papers and crumpled, realizing her affair ended her marriage. She tried to reason, went to counseling, and attempted to speak with Jason, but all efforts were fruitless. He cut off contact with her and Brandy. Mike eventually reached Jason, expressing anger and disappointment over their actions. He reconsidered having kids due to Bry's disloyalty and is currently in couples counseling to save their marriage. Maggie hoped to return home after Jason rebuilt it, but the divorce stated it was his. She received half their savings and $3,000 million monthly child support for 10 years, though he refused to pay. Now she must find work after 30 years of relying on Jason. She moved from her daughter's place to a small apartment near the city center, working at an art gallery to get by. Maggie's artistic freedom was suddenly at risk. She wouldn't spend all her time in Jason's lovely studio anymore, nor could she sit in front of her art projects, enjoying the lake view from the big windows her husband had gifted her. Soon, work would consume her, leaving no free time to reclaim her old life. All her free time vanished, along with luxury and marital bliss, all for one reckless night with another man. She'd never have enough tears to erase the hurt caused by that one mistake. No, Jason, her loving husband, would never speak to her again. Hearing he disowned their daughter shattered Bry's heart. She sank into depression over her parents' split. To save her own marriage, now falling apart, she sought help from a therapist. Months later, the house was fixed. Jason kept up with court-ordered payments and then sold the house. Suddenly, after the sale, Maggie came to reconcile, only to find a young couple at the door. "Hello, can we help you?" the woman asked. "I'm looking for Jason Spencer. Is he here?" "No, he sold us this house and left for a new life." "He was so kind. Are you Maggie?" "Yes, that's me. He left an envelope for you, I suppose." "Indeed. I'll read it later." "Goodbye and enjoy your new home," Maggie said, tears streaming as she realized she'd never see Jason again, regretting the love she carelessly lost. Back in her lonely apartment, she opened the letter with trembling hands. "Maggie, 3 decades, and to think I could have spent that time more productively. Like watching paint dry or counting the blades of grass in our lawn. It's hilarious, really, how I once thought I couldn't be the husband you needed. Clearly, what you needed was a circus, not a partner, considering your antics. You wanted more? Well, congratulations on finally finding it outside our marriage. Bravo. Those 2 weeks you played the doting wife again? Should have known it was just the calm before the storm, a prelude to your grand betrayal. Oh, I was duped, thoroughly conned by your Oscar-worthy performance. Here I was, planning a special night to celebrate us while you were out celebrating you with someone else. You didn't just break us, Maggie, you nuked us from orbit. So I've done us both a favor and disappeared. That's right, I've left the circus to the clowns and moved on to greener pastures. Don't bother trying to find me. I'm buried under layers of new cities and faces that don't include yours or our daughters. Starting over? You bet. This time in a drama-free zone. And as for our home, consider it just another casualty in your war of selfishness. Sold it. Maybe the new owners can cleanse it of the stench of betrayal. You want closure? Consider this letter it. Wrap it up, tie it with a bow, and shove it in the back of that closet where you keep all your other ill-advised decisions. Here's to your new beginnings, Maggie. May they be as fleeting as your loyalty. Farewell. From the man who once loved you, J.S. She thought she was out of tears, but after reading his note, she couldn't stop crying all night, hugging her knees tightly. The thrill and memories of the wonderful times with Alexander faded, now overtaken by regret and sorrow. Now, at 52 and by herself, she realized her days ahead without Jason looked grim. She traded her lavish lifestyle for a moment of reckless pleasure. Jason confronted Alexander late at night, just as he was about to leave for his new place in Ecuador. When the door swung open, Jason barged in and revealed he was the husband of the woman Alexander took from him. Alexander tried to justify that he believed Maggie was okay with it and would not have gone after her otherwise, but it was all in vain. Jason wouldn't hear any of it. The fury, wrath, and suffering he'd been bearing for months were all unleashed on the man in front of him. The encounter was brief, as Jason resorted to using a crowbar. Within seconds, Alexander's life was altered drastically. Before Jason headed to his waiting Uber to catch a flight out of the country, he left Alexander with a warning about the dangers of getting involved with a married woman. By the time Alexander got to the emergency room and reported the assault, Jason was already settling into his beachfront apartment in Manabi. He had to start anew without his past burdens and family. It took detectives 2 weeks to learn that Jason had left the country, and they realized they couldn't pursue him unless he came back. Even if they located him, Ecuador doesn't extradite for assault charges. Alexander endured a painful 2 weeks in the hospital and months of physical therapy to get back on his feet with new knees. Sadly, the 25 stitches across his face would always remind him of that night and the married woman. Unsure of his future, he knew his old life was gone because of the 2 women who persuaded him to steal another man's wife. He never again contacted Maggie or Brandy. Bry's husband, Mike, nearly left her because of what happened, but a psychologist helped Brandy see the error of her ways, and she vowed to stay true to Mike and their future family. Mike waited 2 years before deciding to have kids, needing to be sure his wife wouldn't deceive him like she did her own father. Keeping his promise and her guilt in mind, Jason cut off all ties with Brandy. By her actions, she permanently lost her father's affection. When Maggie and Brandy found out about Alexander's assault, they were heartbroken and felt guilty for their role in the violence, adding to the remorse and suffering they already caused Jason and the breakup of their family. This was yet another sign that their choices had consequences they hadn't imagined. They understood that their foolish hope that allowing Maggie that one indiscretion would keep their life happy was completely misguided. Their error showed that happiness was actually far away from reality. The absence of their father and husband brought them enduring sorrow, a burden they'd carry forever. Overwhelmed by sadness and aging, she never met another partner and led a life filled with loneliness and regret. Her dreams of growing old with Jason and enjoying time with their grandchildren faded into mere memories. With Jason stopping child support after leaving the country, her financial stability was shaky, forcing her to work to make ends meet. Nightly tears became her new norm. I now possess over $750,000 from selling my house and my savings over the last 3 decades. After buying my new place with this wealth, I look forward to a comfortable and peaceful life here in Ecuador for the next 30 years. The local young, attractive women appreciate a generous American, and I relish their company. Half a year following that dreadful night, sitting on the beach across from my new home in Puerto Lopez with a chilled beer, I realized that divorce is part of life. It's fine to part ways. It's fine to be on your own. What's not fine is staying where you're not respected or cherished. I'll make sure I don't find myself in that situation again.
Story 2.
My wife suggested open marriage for 2 weeks, cheated, and now regrets my cheating revenge. This weekend began just like any other Saturday. Hank woke up later than usual, and he gave his wife of 17 years a morning kiss. She grumbled, "Hank, let me sleep. I can't catch a break with you at night or in the morning, and the girls are probably awake by now." Hank replied, "You're right, they're grown-ups. They won't barge into our bedroom. Let me sleep." Hank got out of bed, put on a robe, and headed to the shower. On his way, he heard some noise and commotion in their eldest daughter Alice's room. He realized that Gwen, her sister, was pulling her out of bed, so he left them be. After freshening up, he dressed and made his way to the kitchen. His daughters, having had enough of waiting, were already sitting at the table. Alice asked, "Are we having breakfast today? Are you hungry? We still have to go to school." Hank responded, "Why?" "I don't know. You girls are on New Year's vacation. You're going to Grandma's." Alice inquired, "And you?" "You're on vacation and you have a long weekend. It's all Mom's decision." Hank suggested, "You can make your own breakfast." Gwen added, "We could, but Mom won't let us. She thinks we'd mess up the pans and burn everything. All she knows how to make is scrambled eggs." Hank asked, "Do you want oatmeal or semolina porridge like they have in England?" Alice said, "Oatmeal, please, sir." Hank smiled, "Or in this case, oatmeal, Miss Daddy. We'll leave the oats for the horses." Hank instructed, "Make semolina without lumps. Done and done. Now go wash your face and brush your teeth. The porridge will be ready in 15 minutes. Hank quickly prepared breakfast for his daughters. Meanwhile, Judy came out of the bedroom and went into the bathroom. The daughters sat down to eat, and Judy soon returned, her hair neatly combed. Hank looked at his wife, dressed in his shirt, and even after all these years, she still excited him. He recognized her beauty, even though every man has his own idea of what's beautiful in a woman. He loved her, but there was a significant barrier between them. Judy took her seat at the table and said to her daughters, "Finish your meal and get ready slowly. Today, Daddy will take you to your grandmother's." Alice protested, "Mom, you promised we'd go to the ski center for a week. We've already prepared our ski gear and we wanted to celebrate New Year's Eve together." Judy replied, "Girls, in life we don't always get what we want, but we'll definitely go to the ski center for spring break when there's no more snow, or should we go to Palmer? They say there's year-round snow in the mountains. Now, finish up and get ready." Hank didn't like the idea of sending the kids to his mother-in-law, especially after the deception about the trip they were preparing for. He sensed a cooling in their relationship, which coincided with the arrival of Richard, the new commercial director at Judy's workplace. Hank knew Judy had known Richard from university, but she hadn't mentioned her new boss to him. It worried him, but he trusted that his wife would resist the temptation of an affair with Richard. He considered meeting Richard and talking to him, but he decided it would only worsen his relationship with Judy. Nevertheless, he kept a close eye on his wife. To his knowledge, nothing had happened between them except some light flirting. Judy's decision to send the children to her parents today meant something was about to happen during the long New Year's weekend, and she would likely share it with them. He was prepared for this conversation and kept a recorder ready to understand what she would say. As it started, his tears dried and his heart grew firm. He saw his wife potentially tearing their family apart. His priority was to keep his daughters safe. Hank knew that a conversation was coming today. Kira had already warned him about it. What Judy didn't know was that before the conversation began, Hank went to the bathroom, washed his hands, turned on the recorder, and concealed it in his breast pocket. Then, he returned to the kitchen and sat at the table. Judy remained silent for a minute. Then she looked at Hank, smiled briefly, and her smile disappeared. With a serious tone, she declared, "Hank, there's something you and I need to talk about right now." Her words left no doubt that Hank wouldn't like this conversation. He didn't let it get to him and looked away from his food, asking, "Is something wrong?" "Hank, nothing is wrong. You know I love you. I've loved you and only you for years. You've been an amazing lover, husband, and a great father to our girls. I want to grow old with you and maybe even die on the same day. What's stopping us? I'm a trained sociologist from our university, but only a few of us actually work in that field. Those who do use population surveys and data analysis to understand what's happening in society, identify the causes of negative issues, and offer suggestions for improvement. While I work in marketing, I'm involved in marketing research. Nevertheless, I keep a close eye on all the latest sociological developments. Judy, everything seems a bit unclear and complicated. Can you give me the gist of your question? I've read about what leads to marriage problems and want to reduce the chances of anything going wrong in our relationship. What could go wrong for us? We should be as proactive as possible to avoid common pitfalls that can lead to failed marriages. Judy, it seems like you've been reading some convoluted ideas from someone trying to grab attention. I don't buy into these sociological conclusions at all. Can you tell me what this nonsense is all about? Judy snorted and declared, "Hank, I'm quite serious. I'm concerned about our family, the possibility of us drifting apart. Our actions today might lead to distance between us and eventually end our relationship. So tell me, what should we do? I'm not a sociologist. Maybe we should see a psychologist. I've been thinking about this for a while, and I believe we need a break from our marriage. We should explore our own natures and experiences with other people and places. This way, when we come back together, we'll have a broader perspective to support our relationship. How long should this break last? A month? A year? No, I think a 2-day holiday weekend would suffice. Is that why the kids are going to your mom's instead of the ski resort? We could have sent them to your parents' place, but I already made plans with my mom. So you're telling me that you and your lover concocted this whole sociological theory just to get my consent for a long weekend with your lover? Judy's suggestion left Hank completely stunned. Her bold proposal was shocking, though not entirely surprising given his suspicions. Nevertheless, her words hurt him deeply. Judy, still not sure what you're getting at, Hank asked. Can you clarify? I have no idea who you're talking about as a lover. I know you may not like it, but you'll see that nothing will change between us. I'll make sure you're happy when we reunite. Yes, it's selfish, but I have my reasons. I want to grow old with you. You may not understand that now, but you will, and you'll apologize. You don't even know who the lover is. I'm talking about your new commercial director, Richard. You had a passionate affair with him back in college, and only when he got tired of you did he break it off. After that, you quickly moved on to me. Not a word was said to me about your former classmate becoming your boss. And you're wrong about a lot of other things too. What am I mistaken about? You're wrong to think that nothing will change. Everything will change, or rather, it has already changed. What has changed? Your attitude toward me and our kids has changed. Everything in our family is changing today. Hank, I love you, and I don't know what you're imagining. I still love you. I don't know how you'll explain our divorce to your parents, or to Alice and Gwen. What will they think? Think of their parents' divorce, Hank. What are you talking about? We're not getting divorced, and our parents don't need to be involved in our personal affairs. Sociology is a precise science, and you don't need to fit our situation into some theory you and your lover came up with. I can see that you're overcomplicating things, so I'll postpone it. You take the girls, come back, and we'll sit down to work things out. Judy, we're not resolving anything. I'm simply leaving. But you can't do this to me. I can, and I will, or I won't do what you suggested. My decision to divorce was spontaneous. I just decided it now, Hank. But I said I was calling it off. Yes, you did, and then you said that when I got back, we'd sit down and talk about it. So you're going to enjoy your free long weekend as I drive the girls around. You can consult with your Richard. Alice came into the kitchen and announced, "Daddy, we're ready to go." "Girls, I'll be ready in 5 minutes." Hank quickly dressed, grabbed his laptop, slung on his backpack, and without saying goodbye to his wife, headed downstairs. He started the car, waited for it to warm up a bit, and then the girls hopped into the back seat and they drove off. Judy watched them from the window, bewildered. Hank cautiously merged onto the main road. The atmosphere in the car remained silent. Finally, Alice spoke. "Daddy, Grandma lives on the other side of the road." "I know, dear, but you were promised a ski lodge, and that's where we're going now. We'll figure out where to stay." "Dad, are you and Mom getting a divorce?" "Why would you say that?" "Dad, we overheard you guys arguing in the kitchen today, and I'm on your side. Aren't you, Gwen?" "I'm on Dad's side, too." "But where are we going to live?" "Girls, we'll stay at my mom's house. I'll drop you off at school, pick up your books and clothes. For now, let's put all these worries aside and enjoy our vacation. You deserve it." Judy glanced away from the car, took out her phone and dialed Richard, who picked up immediately. "Richard, it's Judy. I've got a problem." "No worries, I'm alone. Has your husband left yet?" "He's leaving tonight. He just went to the store. He's probably on his way." "What's going on?" "He didn't react as we expected, or he didn't believe me." "Who are you referring to?" "My husband. I offered him the 2-day separation we talked about, and did he agree? Turns out he's aware of your past and our connection from university. Or he's talking about getting a divorce. That's not good. It's going to cause a major uproar. It'll reach the office gossip mill, and eventually Kira will hear about it." "Kira? I'm not interested in divorcing my wife." "You've never been interested, have you? Tell me, so what do I do now? Is your husband back already?" "No, he still has to drop the girls off at my parents' and then return. I'm sure he'll come home, and he's not leaving. Tell him you've decided there's no temporary separation." "I did, he didn't believe me. He thought I'd convince him to go along with it when he got back." "When will he be here?" "I think it'll take him 3 or 4 hours. That's our plan then. Tell him you've made your decision and there's no separation. Right now we need to let his anger subside, and we can't let this reach our workplace under any circumstances. Otherwise, it will complicate things." Judy ended the call, feeling relieved with Richard's support. She pondered the situation, and recalling the old saying about the way to a man's heart, decided to set up the table and avoid the trouble of cooking. She got dressed and went to a cafe, ordering some takeout. She also brought a bottle of wine and placed a corkscrew beside it. She set out 2 glasses and heated up the appetizers she'd purchased in the microwave. In the living room, she turned on the TV and settled into an armchair. She wondered if her brief affair with an old flame was worth jeopardizing her family. Now, convincing her husband would be incredibly challenging, and she wasn't sure how much he knew about her relationship with Richard. She probably shouldn't have revealed to her husband that her former classmate had become her boss. She knew he'd find out eventually. As it turned out, Hank knew about her involvement with Richard and that he'd left her. It was true. Richard had vanished from her life and then suddenly reappeared. When Judy learned that he would be their commercial director, she felt an unexpected attraction. She realized it was just a fling, nothing more. Their first one-on-one conversation confirmed it. Richard had told her, "Judy, I've always liked you, but I can't risk ruining my family, although I'm not ready to cut off contact with you. It must remain very discreet. You're married too, as far as I know." Life had shown her the folly of her decision. Their discussions in the study had hinted at a scientific foundation, but it appeared they had underestimated something. 4 hours had gone by and Hank hadn't returned. He should have been back by now. Judy called her mom's phone, and though there was a slight delay, her mom answered, "Daughter, I'm here. I just called to check on how you're doing. What's happening?" "It's winter time out there, and the darkness falls early. We're sitting with Grandpa, and we're having a bit of an argument." "What's the argument about?" "Just the usual, the old man's way. He wanted a drink, and I refused, but he found where I hid the bottle." "And you? How are you? When will you bring your granddaughter to visit?" Judy knew from her mom's conversation that Hank hadn't arrived. After the call with her mom, she phoned Hank's parents again, and it was Hank's father, a retired military officer, who picked up. "Judy, is that you? Come on, be honest. I thought I'd call to see how you're doing." "Judy, don't try to deceive me. You're looking for Hank and the kids, right? He warned us about this." "So he was at your place?" "No, he didn't come. He called and said you were getting a divorce." "That's absurd. We had a misunderstanding, but we're not getting a divorce over something like that. I get that it's not just between you two, it's related to some guy from your work." "What did he say?" "He told me that this morning during breakfast you proposed a 2-day separation when he didn't agree. You said you'd cancel it, but discuss it when he returned. Is that what happened?" "No. Hank said he's had enough of discussions and he's decided on a divorce. He's gone to sort it out and won't be back, although he assumed you were still at home waiting for him, ruffling his feathers. But I don't have any dates planned. Judy, that's not true either. Hank knows about the man you're seeing, and when I suggested he drive up there and figure it out in person, but he said, Dad, I'm not interested. I have daughters, and they're on my side. Where did he go? He didn't tell us. We were so upset that we didn't even ask. If he calls, tell him he misunderstood everything. I did my best for our family, but now I see that I did something wrong. I don't know, my daughter. We've been together with my wife for a century, and even in the toughest times, we never thought of separation. Who put these absurd thoughts in your head? And if you love another man, why torment everyone? If you're ready for a lover to run away from your husband and children, just pack your bags and leave. Don't ruin life for yourself and others. Hank will get over it, and maybe he'll be better off. He's not an old or unattractive man, and the girls will be fine with him. What are you talking about? There will be no divorce. That's your opinion. I know my son, and you don't seem to know him. I just need to explain everything to him, and he'll realize he was wrong. Whatever, he'll call. I'll tell him. Judy called Richard's phone, and a woman answered unexpectedly. I'm here. Excuse me, I'm looking for Richard. Who are you? My name is Judy. We work together. Oh, I know. Let me tell you, honey, I kicked him out. Or don't call him. He doesn't have a phone. Is something wrong? You don't know. I've moved to 2 different cities because of this cheater and womanizer, but I'm not leaving this new house. Where's Richard? How should I know? I kicked him out. Maybe he's at your place. He doesn't know where I live. Why would he be at my place? He knows everything, including your address. He's with you at work, but he wasn't the only one involved with you and had plans. He intended to meet all of you while I was on vacation, except I wasn't going anywhere. Hank and his daughters were going to a ski resort out of town. He knew some of the staff there, called one of them on the way. It turned out that Mark, a former classmate of his, went up the mountain and became the director of the base. After explaining the situation to him, Hank asked to accommodate him and the girls for the winter vacation. Mark replied, Hank, anything for you. A house for 3 people, that's a dream come true. Great, I have a company waiver and 3 cabins available. I'll reserve one for you. Excellent, but I have a request. If someone calls, don't confirm that I'm with my daughters on this base vacation. All right, I'll reserve the cabin for you. When are you coming? We're about an hour and a half away. I can't drive too fast, the roads are slippery. Okay, I'll set the table in your cabin at the entrance. Just tell them you're here to see Mark and they'll direct you. An hour and a half later, they reached the ski lodge's gates. They informed the gatekeeper that they were there to meet with Mark, who directed them where to go. There was a sheltered parking lot near the lodge, and Hank parked the car there. They took their belongings and entered the house. Mark was waiting at the table. Seeing them arrive, he said, Hurry up, everything on the table is getting cold. You're always in a rush. Let my girls freshen up, wash their hands, and explore a bit. There are 2 bedrooms upstairs and 1 on the ground floor. Alice and Gwen, taking their things, headed upstairs. They had already changed into their tracksuits and found the room satisfactory. Hank's daughters were growing up and looking good. Where's Judy? Why hasn't she come? That's a separate story, I'll tell you later. Let's toast to our meeting. You're eager, and yet slow. The friends raised their glasses in a toast and reminisced, occasionally interrupted by Hank's daughter's questions. Eventually, Gwen asked Mark about other entertainment options at the ski lodge. Right now, there's a dance party in the hall. We didn't bring anything for dancing. There's no dress code. You can come as you are, so no specific dress rules. Can we go too? Of course, I'll call one of my staff and they'll take you there. Mark made the call, and a few minutes later, a young employee arrived to escort Alice and Gwen. After they left, Mark asked Hank about his wife. Decided to get a divorce. Why would you do that? Remember when I used to date her? There were rumors that she was seeing someone else. Yeah, there were rumors, but nothing concrete. Well, this guy from out of town shows up and he ends up becoming the commercial director at Judy's workplace. They started an emotional affair, which I didn't catch at first. He's got a wife, Kira, who's decided to divorce her husband and spilled the beans to me. And today it all happened. She cheated on you? No, they decided that for the long weekend we shouldn't vacation together, supposedly to strengthen our marriage as we age. I've always been skeptical of sociologists. Sociology is when people who don't understand society conduct research and then try to impose the supposed laws they've discovered, which are often just made up. You're right about that. Sounds like they made them up for me. So what have you decided? When I talked to her, I realized that continuing our life would be unbearable, so I decided on a divorce. What's next? Nothing. I need to figure out how to proceed. A group of lawyers is coming here tomorrow. They have an office downtown. I'll ask them for help. Come on, pour a drink. Alice and Gwen returned from the dance around 11 p.m. A ski center staff member had been attentive to Mark's guests and escorted the girls back to the lodge. Hank prepared a late supper for the girls, and they shared a meal together before heading to their rooms. Hank sat on his bed, struggling to hold back tears. It had been a challenging day for him, and he couldn't forget everything that Judy had done. He turned on the tape recorder and listened to the recording, reaffirming that his decision was the right one in the current circumstances. Judy had never waited for her husband, and she had no idea where he might have gone with their daughters. But Hank remembered that he had said promises should be kept, and they had promised their children a trip to the ski lodge, so that's where he had gone. And he suspected that reservations had been made in advance. She powered on the computer Hank typically used, but her extensive search yielded nothing. She couldn't find any information about ski lodges in the area he had been researching. The next morning, Hank woke up to a knock on his door. He called out, "Come in!" And his daughters rushed into his room full of energy and excitement. "Daddy, wake up. Let's have breakfast and go skiing on the hill. Then we can go ice skating." "There's an ice skating rink here." "Yes, there is. And where do we have breakfast?" "At the cafe. Wash up and I'll be ready in 5 minutes." They headed to the cafe for breakfast. After changing into their skiing attire, they rented skis and took the ski lift up the mountain. They enjoyed skiing until lunchtime. In the afternoon, they returned to the cafe. After changing there, they ran into Mark and his wife. Mark mentioned that the company he had discussed had arrived, including a divorce specialist. "Meet me in my office today. I have a computer and printer, everything you need. I'll take your girls, my wife and her sister to the ice rink tonight, if you don't mind. We'll meet at my place. The girls want to go dancing again. We'll join them, we'll dance, and then return to our cabin. And don't forget, tomorrow is New Year's Eve. We need to prepare for the festivities." Everything was set. After lunch, Fodor and Hank went to Mark's office. A lawyer soon arrived, and they discussed the situation. Maria explained the current legal landscape to Hank, which he was not very familiar with. She advised him against making rash decisions about their apartment, saying, "Keep in mind that your girls will grow up and have their own families. They will need their own space. If you move into the apartment with them now, there might be a new husband in the future which could complicate matters. But I can't imagine living in the same apartment as her. Try to envision it and consider proposing a partition first. Explain to your wife that you'll be filing for divorce in court. When will the paperwork be ready?"
"No rush, the courts have their holiday weekends too."
"I have my laptop with me. I'll prepare it and we can print it later. Additionally, you can reach out to me at my office or hire me to represent you in court. I like the last option." Hank and his daughters celebrated the new year with Mark, his wife, her sister, and a group of lawyers in the ski lodge's large hall. Other vacationers joined in, and it was a lively night filled with music, fun, and dancing. In the early hours of the morning, Hank returned to the cabin with his daughters, who were exhausted and ready for sleep. Hank rejoined the company, and after the main hall festivities ended, they gathered in his cabin. They sat around the fireplace and later retired to their respective cabins. The following days went as planned with more skiing, ice skating, and dancing in the evenings. Mark asked Hank, "How are you holding up?" Hank replied, "You know, apart from the daytime fun, there were nights when I shed a lot of tears, but today I feel more prepared for what's ahead than ever." The day came when Hank and his daughters packed up for their return journey. Hank had a conversation with them, emphasizing the importance of not losing their apartment. They made a stop at the mall for groceries and returned home as darkness fell. Alice and Gwen immediately set about rearranging their rooms, with Gwen moving her things to Alice's room. At that moment, Judy entered and asked, "What are you two doing?" "We're turning Gwen's room into Dad's room and we're sharing one room." Judy questioned this decision, and Gwen explained, "That's what Dad said." Judy remained dissatisfied and warned, "I won't tolerate any of your boyfriends in the house. You can hang out anywhere you want, just so you know. I'm filing for divorce." With their room changes complete, the girls got ready for school. Hank started preparing dinner and breakfast for the morning. Judy walked in and tried to initiate a conversation, but Hank remained unresponsive. Judy then entered the girls' room and asked if they wanted to talk to her. The girls expressed that they hadn't missed her, and Hank instructed them to stay out of his way for the rest of the week. Hank, Alice, and Gwen lived separately from Judy, with Hank locking the doors to the rooms they occupied. Hank cooked for himself and his daughters, deliberately ignoring Judy's presence. On Friday evening, a young woman delivered a registered letter with notice to Judy. It was a summons, and attached to it was a statement of claim. After reading the contents, Judy rushed into the kitchen in tears, asking Hank why he wanted a divorce and expressing her hope that things could work out. Hank advised her to consult with a lawyer and discuss the matter with him. Judy mentioned Richard's disappearance, and Hank suggested she reach out to him for advice. Judy insisted that she had no one, but Hank remained unmoved. The girls had already eaten and left for their room without a word to Judy. In her desperation, Judy continued to plead with Hank, declaring her love for him and their daughters. Hank replied, "What does my love have to do with it? I loved you, but that was until I found out you were cheating on me with your old boyfriend, someone you didn't even tell me about. I realized it was foolish to love you. You wanted to talk, okay, go ahead. Tell me about your phony weekend. What did you plan to do? How are you going to spend it? It's been a while since I heard your marvelous sociological theories from your buddy. Enlighten me with your new stories. And how did you spend your weekend? Did you have fun? I thought it was great that your buddy disappeared once more, so let's talk about it." Hank finished dinner and began gathering the dishes in the sink. Hearing the clatter of dishes, Alice came into the kitchen and offered to do the dishes. Hank refused her help and suggested she go upstairs to tidy her room. He assured her that he would do the dishes and take care of ironing her clothes, which were already dry. Judy, feeling entirely ignored during the conversation and sensing that Hank didn't want to engage with her, became emotional and went to her room. In the meantime, Hank promptly washed the dishes, turned off the lights, and headed to his room. He noticed a pile of laundry that he had washed during those days waiting to be ironed. Before going to bed, Hank made his way to the kitchen, where he found Judy sitting in the darkness. Upon seeing him, she said, "Hank, none of this was planned, it just happened. I was seeing Richard at university and then he suddenly disappeared. No, I wasn't pursued or pressured into it. Very few people knew we were dating and hardly anyone knew he broke up with me out of the blue. He appeared at our workplace. We began to interact due to work-related activities, and one day he asked me to have lunch. At first it was just lunch, nothing more. Then something changed. However, he made it clear from the start that there should be no suspicious encounters, and everything had to be carefully planned to avoid our spouses finding out. I reluctantly agreed, thinking it was a fling with no future. This temporary separation was meant to be our first and only date. So, is that why you concocted this story you told me?"
I didn't realize it would go this far, and I agreed to Richard's proposal.
"Hank, can't you see that he was just using you? Can you really be so naive?" "No, it's not that. It's been a while since you've complimented me on my looks, my clothes, or my modern hair, but don't put all of this on me. Just because I haven't been telling you every day how great you look doesn't justify having an affair. Are you saying you're willing to have an affair with anyone who gives you compliments?" Over the next few days, Hank prepared for a meeting with child welfare officials. According to his lawyer, Maria, their opinion would carry significant weight in court, although the children's views were also taken into consideration. Hank had a lot to handle in a short time, and at night when he was alone, he found it hard to sleep. His thoughts were consumed by the themes of love and betrayal. The most important person in his life had betrayed him, leaving him with a mix of anger and pain. All he wanted now was a divorce, even though it seemed far from possible. He had lost trust in Judy, and their marriage was beyond repair. He also had to think about the children, who had distanced themselves from their mother. During a conversation, Judy argued that for the sake of the children, they should stay married and try to make their marriage work. Hank's response was, "I believe our children need to know that their parents love them unconditionally. Our daughters are not responsible for what happened. They're old enough to form their own opinions about us, and you need to understand that I haven't spoken ill of you to them. They formed their judgments based on what they overheard when you were criticizing me about our temporary separation for a long weekend." Hank continued, "Judy, I'm proud of our kids. They quickly grasped what was happening between us and your lover. They discussed it among themselves, and I'm sure their decisions were not made lightly. When we left, they were extremely upset with you. Speaking with them changed my plans for the long weekend and the course of my life. The girls know more than you might think." Judy asked, "Do the girls hate me?" Hank replied, "For someone with a degree in sociology, you show surprising understanding. I didn't expect that. Yes, they know their mother was unfaithful, and yes, they are angry with you because of it. You can try to mend your relationship with them, of course, but as a sociologist, you studied the field of psychology related to the study of human behavior patterns and activities. You should remember what adolescence is occurring between the ages of 10, 11, and 15, 16. It's known as a transitional phase where children transition from childlike behavior to more adult-like behavior. They undergo significant physiological changes. It's hard to predict how you'll be able to connect with them. The time leading up to their court appearance was filled with pleas and appeals. Eventually, they faced each other in the courtroom for a preliminary session. They were given some time to try and reconcile their differences. When that period ended, Hank proposed that Judy sign a child custody agreement as part of their divorce. Under this agreement, the girls would live with him. After hearing everything, Judy declared, "I won't sign any agreement." Hank cautioned her, "Then I'll have to bring this matter before the court. The court will hear me, talk to the girls, and make a decision. It's unlikely to be in your favor." Judy responded, "You can't be so sure. Court decisions can be appealed." Hank concluded, "Well, good luck with that." Judy admitted, Hank, I know I've been foolish. I realize what I was doing was wrong. Please understand, I love you, and I'll never have Richard in my life again. You've decided to replace him with someone else. Hank responded, well, that's your personal choice. It's your life. Don't try to blame me. You're a sociologist now. If you'll excuse me, I have a lot on my plate. If you do decide to sign the agreement, it should be done in front of a notary. As a general rule, an agreement to determine child residence does not require mandatory notarization, which holds the power of a court order. However, it is recommended to draft and notarize the document. Thanks, but she doesn't want to sign anything and I don't need her to. It's just that. She won't get anything. Consequently, the court's deadline for the parties to reconcile had expired. Judy made desperate attempts to reconcile with her daughters, but her efforts were unsuccessful. After school, the daughters started their computer science classes, returning home with their father. Following a light snack, usually in their father's room, they settled down to do their homework. Meanwhile, Hank prepared dinner and breakfast for the following morning. On one particular day, the child welfare authorities paid them a visit. They spoke with the girls, examined their room, and compiled a report. Subsequently, they attended the court hearing on time. Hank, accompanied by the girls, addressed some questions with their lawyer. Judy entered the courtroom, took her seat. She didn't have a lawyer but had sought advice from counseling and divorced friends, fully understanding the irreparable state of her marriage. During the trial, she answered the court's questions briefly, with simple yes or no responses. At the end of the trial, Judy declared that she was relinquishing her share of the apartment in favor of her daughters, providing a deed of gift. The judge noted she had already taken her personal belongings from the apartment. What remained would be removed within a week, and she requested a court recess to sign the child support agreement proposed by Hank. After the recess, she added, I am willing to voluntarily pay child support to Hank because I understand that the court's decision may not be in my favor. Hank responded, to ensure transparency regarding the money I receive as child support, I propose the defendant open a separate account for each of her daughters and transfer the funds there. I believe they'll need that money when they come of age. The judge heard both parties and clarified that alimony and the division of the apartment weren't part of the initial claim, so the court wouldn't address them. As for the child support agreement and the divorce, these issues would be decided. The court recessed to make a decision. Eventually, Hank and Judy left the courthouse officially divorced. The girls, who had been excused from the courtroom after their hearing, were found sitting on a bench near a bus stop, enjoying ice cream despite the cold. Seeing them, Hank inquired, Girls, what are you doing? It's freezing outside. The girls explained they had brought the ice cream home and believed it was harmless to have in the winter and could even soothe a sore throat. There was a bit of paradox to it. Hank questioned why 19 was chosen as the age for them to access the money. The girls responded, That's what we decided. Judy honored her promise and left the apartment. She moved in with her parents, where she cared for her ailing mother. Hank agreed to let her visit her daughters once a week, although Alice and Gwen were hesitant about it. On these visits, Judy spent time with her daughters at their residence. Epilogue. Hank spent a long time on his own. On New Year's Eve, he and his grown daughters vacationed at a ski resort, often in the company of Mark's wife's sister, Katata. They started to develop a relationship, but Hank wasn't in a rush to make any commitments. For him, the most important focus in life remained his daughters, whom he continued to nurture and guide. Katata didn't have any children of her own, but she got along well with Alice and Gwen, although there was some initial jealousy on the part of the girls. Hank treated Judy respectfully, allowing her to visit their daughters and maintaining communication. However, they were no longer a couple or friends. Alice and Gwen matured without causing difficulties. Hank, who surrounded his daughters with love and care, saw the arrival of Katya as something that brought their family closer together. Judy experienced a challenging year. Her parents passed away one after the other. Hank helped her with the funerals, but their shared grief didn't mend their relationship. For a considerable time, Judy lived independently, with her daughters as her primary social circle. Eventually, she began dating a lonely widower from a neighboring house. Richard, her former partner, never reappeared in town. His whereabouts remained unknown, even to his ex-wife Kira, who had remarried soon after their divorce.
Story 3.
My wife constantly threatened to divorce me over everything, so I finally agreed and left her. I, 32 male, my wife, 28 female, keeps throwing divorce in my face over everything. I just agreed and left. I'm currently staying with my sister. My wife and I have been together for 5 years, married for 4. We had known each other for years prior. We have one kid together, who is 4. I'm the primary breadwinner in the house as she is a stay-at-home mom. It was her choice not to go back to work. For the last year and a half, we have been having arguments about 1 to 2 times a month. To be clear, I do help out with our daughter. I clean, cook, and am involved with both of them. The first time she said she wanted a divorce was when we got into an argument when my sister called and asked if she could stay. with us for a bit as she was having relationship problems. Ironic. I said she could. My wife was not happy about that. I pointed out that her friend stayed with us a couple of months prior for 5 weeks and didn't do anything around the house. Plus, she was just there, no discussion, no nothing. She was a stranger to me and my daughter. My sister is lovely and has a great relationship with our daughter, and I thought my wife was as well. She ended up staying with us for a week, helping out around the house, cooking, cleaning, and watching our daughter when needed. I thought we both forgave each other and moved on. The fights are usually over something small, 90% are not started by me. I have suggested therapy and counseling, but she always said we never needed it. Well, I had it. Last night, she picked a fight, saying I was spending too much time at work and that she feels abandoned, and that I'm not a good father. She ended her rant with, "I want a divorce." I stood up and told her that the only reason I work so much is because she can't stop spending. Edit, at the time of the argument, I used our money, typing it out. It came out as my money on accident. We agreed to split the money into bills, future savings, future daughter, and fun money on things we don't need or use. She refused to get a job or go to school. To help her out, I provided for the family and for my daughter. I'm always at her important dates, functions, doctor's appointments, anything she needs. She refused to get help through therapy or counseling. I don't want this anymore. I'll have my lawyer send her the papers when she writes them up. I got my daughter's things and left with her to my sister's. It has been 2 days, and she keeps calling and texting, saying she's sorry, she didn't mean it, she wants to go to counseling and therapy, she needs me, she misses me, etc. I don't know what to do. I love her, she's a good mother, but I can't do this anymore. Internet strangers, please help. Yes, I have a lawyer for my family and work. I have known her since I was a teen. Let's see what kind of advice the community offers. First up, this is still only a snippet of your life. You still know your wife and life better than we do. Make the best decision for your daughter, that's all you can do. Toxic parents are the effing worst, especially when they can't get over their BS for their kids' sake. You got this, King. Always put your daughter first. Next up, I had the exact same situation. After the 500th time of her saying we should get a divorce, I finally agreed. Of course, her version of the story later was that I left her, but even that wasn't worth arguing over. My best advice is that even after divorce, you will need to work things out with her on things regarding your daughter, so don't do anything mean or spiteful during the process. Wait a while to see other people after you move out, or she will assume you're cheating on her with any new person. You can't make other people happy. She needs to be reasonable for her own happiness. Don't be angry, just say, "I love you and I want you to be happy, but it's clear I can't do that. So you're right that we're better off getting a divorce." And then don't waver on that decision. The OP responds, "There's been a lot going on since I first posted, but I wanted to point out some things that it seems were missed or overlooked. I would do everything again if I had to, including taking my daughter. I have pushed her to go out, find a job, get a hobby, meet new friends, and do something, anything. I reached out to people to help out, asked about seeing someone for help. She would not listen or consider anything I have presented. She kept saying no, or she was not the problem. My daughter is my priority. I don't fight with my wife in front of her or around her. I grew up in a bad household. I've been in the position where my dad got angry at my mom left, and my dad took it out on me. I don't ever want that for her. I don't know what my wife was going to do that night. You can't force someone to get help, they have to want it, actually want it. If you force someone, they will go through the motions just to make it look like they changed. I'm not blameless in this, but I can't raise my daughter with her thinking this is okay behavior, or this is how relationships are supposed to be like. I decided when I was young that I would never be like my dad. I think there's a lot of truth here, OP. You can't make other people happy, and you certainly aren't responsible for their happiness. And I think you can handle only so much of someone saying they don't want to be with you and really holding that over your head for so long. That's not a game anyone wants to play, and I understand not wanting to continue that cycle with your daughter. The comments are right, whatever decision you make it in the best interest of your daughter. Update, hello all. Unfortunately, this is not a sunshine and rainbows update. Okay, so after I made my post, I had a bunch to think about. I decided that I had to make sure she knew how serious I was. We sat down and I flat out told her that I couldn't do this anymore. The fighting and the threatening of divorce had to stop. She agreed and said she would not say it. I told her that the next time it was thrown out, it would be the last time. We agreed to go to couples therapy. It was eye-opening. Things were said, feelings were brought up, and outside professional views helped us understand each other better. After a few sessions, I thought we were doing better. She started to apply herself more. She looked and obtained a job, made some friends, and got a hobby. This was until an argument started because we had plans in regards to our daughter that she overlooked and couldn't cancel the other plans she had made with some new CO workers. At what I consider the end of the argument, she said under her breath, "I knew marrying you was a mistake." I looked at her, and the thing I remember most is how I did not recognize the woman standing there. She looked different to my eyes. I didn't know who the woman in front of me was. I asked her to repeat herself. She said, "I should have divorced you years ago." I walked away and took my daughter to the plans alone, just us two. I ended up filing for legal separation. Under the terms we both signed was something along the lines of, while separated, we are still legally married and will not get involved with anyone during this time period. Finances will be separated, but bills will stay as currently split. I would still pay for insurance through work. Other things that were in it were therapy sessions would continue both as individuals and couples. I would move in with my sister, and we had shared custody of our daughter, 70% me, 30% her. One day, when I had my daughter, I needed my wife to take her. I let her know a week before, and she agreed. The morning of, at 7:30, I went to drop her off at the house and noticed an unfamiliar car in the driveway. My first thought was she must have a girlfriend over. I go ring the doorbell out of respect, but still, odd ringing your own doorbell and wait with my daughter. When a shirtless man, about 20, opens the door and asks who I am and what do I want, I asked for my wife. He calls her, and she comes around the corner in a robe, and her face goes from curious to shocked, horrified, and sad. Needless to say, in 3 months' time, when the legal separation ends, I'm filing for a decree of dissolution of marriage. My daughter is safe. She doesn't understand what's going on other than daddy and mommy are not happy with each other. As stated above, she is my priority. I guess I did do the one thing I never wanted to do, the one thing I promised myself I would never become, but I guess it couldn't be helped. I ended up just like my parents. I don't know what a healthy relationship looks like. I hope I can just show how much love I have for my daughter and raise her the best I can. Thanks for the support, comments, love, and criticism. Let's see how the community reacts. First up, that's effing hard. One day your daughter will know what her dad did to protect her. I hope you find peace in your life, OP. Another commenter says, "I'm so sorry, OP. You really did the best you could with what you were given. Don't beat yourself up too hard. ETA, I can tell you from experience that having separated parents is better than having parents that are together but obviously unhappy." Next thought, from what you wrote, I don't think you are like your dad. You didn't do the same thing your parents did. You prioritized your daughter and took her from a household that was no longer healthy for her. I'd say that it's not a matter of knowing how a relationship should look like, but the fact we cannot always force how the people we love will change over time. We also never get to know someone as thoroughly as we think, only the bits they show us. I think you've made the best choice in this situation. The LP replies, "I feel like I never knew her. I only know the side of her that she showed me. I just hope I'm doing right by my daughter. Thanks." The comments are right. You did the best you could with the cards you were handed, OP. You can't be the only one working to keep a marriage together. It takes two people. And I think you're far from different from your parents. You know your self-worth, and you'd never put your child in a negative situation. You're looking out for her, which is far more than your parents could ever say. What do you think? Could OP have done anything differently? Second story. Next up, OP can't wake up from this nightmare. Pandemic locked me in the house with my cheating wife. Full story, I've pondered a lot about the idea of me posting this story, and based on the title, I'm sure you realize this story is now closing in on 3 years old. However, I felt at this point that it is good to get this off my chest. At the time, my 30 millions was happily married to my 30 Fahrenheit's wife. We had been married around 6 years. I will refer to her from here on as Sarah, not her real name. We traveled, ate together, and spent time together basically every night for the first 6 years of the marriage. During 2019, I started to see some warning signs that, in retrospect, should have told me something was up. In early 2019, I had to be out of town for a work conference, the first time that I had ever been gone overnight from home without her. She immediately suggested that her friend might come and visit and even stay over those days. Now for context, this friend 29 millions, I will refer to him as Mark, is someone she texted all the time. They were close friends, and I know for a fact had been intimate with before we met. I put my foot down and said no, pointing out he never came over in 6 years except the one time I was gone. While she got mad, she respected my wishes too. The best of my knowledge and the scenes from the security cameras. There were other things as well that gave me pause, but for the interest of time, I will move on. Now we arrive at the end of 2019. As we're in a movie theater together, I notice her writing messages to someone on her Apple Watch during the movie. This was very unusual for her to do, and the messages, although I can't remember them, were a bit strong for a CO worker at a new job, but nothing overly sexual or romantic. I asked her about it after the movie, and she brushes it off. Her behavior changes, sitting away from me on the couch, changing in a different room, and so on. I start to wonder, am I being cheated on, or what is being hidden from me? I feel tremendous guilt for even thinking about checking her phone for confirmation, feeling that if I do and I am wrong, there's no point in continuing to be married. After thinking about it for days, I decide to check in January 2020. Now, her phone is always close by, and I don't know the passcode. Luckily, her watch is accessible, and she made the code our anniversary. Irony abound. What I discover next is horrifying. Sarah and Mark discussing her hookups with a CO worker, them mocking me for not noticing what is going on, Sarah discussing how the idea of me touching her is revolting, and how she can't imagine having kids with me. We had been trying in mid-2019, so this especially hurt. Then I read the messages between Sarah and the CO worker we will call Carl. Those messages are explicit, and Sarah shows more affection for him in every way than she shows me now. Each message tells me a new revelation that hurts more, that a trip she had was to console a friend was really so that the friend could meet Carl. That she began changing in the bathroom so I wouldn't see the hickeys on her body, that her therapist knows all of this and says I should be made aware, but that she should be happy with whoever. I stay up till 3 or 4 a.m. reading these messages and taking pictures of everything. I don't sleep that night. My jaw clenched so hard all night it caused issues for months. She leaves for work. I'm off that day, and my first phone call is to a lawyer. What are my options? When I confront her, what can I say and not say legally? I wait for her to come home, reading over the messages to confirm it wasn't the worst dream I ever had. When I confront her, I tell her what I know without revealing I had been in her texts. I tell her I spotted the hickey a lie, but she mentioned it in the messages and that I know she's texting someone. Sarah lies, tries to argue that it's someone else that gave her the hickey, but finally, I read a message from her watch. I guess what I expected was for her to break down and admit everything. Instead, Sarah explodes in rage that I violated her privacy. The insanity and gaslighting of trying to convince me that I was the bad guy here blew me away. She stormed out of the house and disappeared for 3 days, no communication as to where she was, even though I asked her to tell me where she was staying so I knew she'd be safe. To this day, I only know a small part about where she went or what she did. When she comes back, she tells me she wants to try to fix things and spend some time together. It doesn't go well. I catch her sneaking off to meet with him once again as she foolishly leaves the watch behind, and I can read the messages in real time. I finally tell her in February 2020 that I contacted a lawyer. She insists she won't sign anything until we attend couples counseling. I humor it, but it goes off the rails immediately when, after I explain we're here because she had an affair, she argues my word choice affair was too strong a word. She also lies about the fact that she cheated on me before Carl with a married man, something I discovered at a later date going through her watch once again. She admits her plan was to find an apartment, then hand me papers without me ever knowing what was going on. She even tries to blame the whole affair on me, using, in a therapist's view, minor disagreements as proof of my cold and uncaring demeanor. One example, I don't immediately scream at my parents for a Christmas gift she didn't like, or at her parents when they playfully made fun of her. At this point, the decision is made. I need to divorce her as she will never tell the truth. We agree Sarah will move out of our house, and I even help her find an apartment, anything to get her out of the house faster. One day in March 2020, I watched the news of COVID come in, and all construction work stops. Her apartment was almost ready but was being renovated. Now there's nowhere for her to go. I'm stuck in the house with her from March to June of 2020, for those wondering. She has enough legal knowledge to know that leaving would make her case harder and might still have to pay expenses. Those 3 or so months were hell. Trying to do my job and live in a house with a person who had wronged me and ridiculed me was unbearable at times. We tried as best we could to keep it civil and not scream at each other every time we passed each other. Imagine spending 90+ days cooking meals, passing by, and seeing no one else in the world but the person who ended your marriage and broke your heart. Every day featured me essentially locking myself in a room for 8 hours, then doing yard work or working out to avoid speaking with her. She moved out for the most part in late June once the world started to open up a bit and had all of her items out by July. Knowing that I wanted the house, she definitely manipulated the situation to her advantage to avoid her being publicly shamed. Her family to this day doesn't know what caused the divorce. She didn't tell them the divorce was happening at all until after the papers were signed and essentially forced me to pretend we were still together until then. At which point, I told her to tell her parents, or I would. They never asked me what was the cause, although one or two did wish me well. I never felt the need to tell them, as despite the pain of gaslighting she caused, I didn't feel the need to hurt them. Her parents never wronged me. Carl and Sarah didn't last. When I found out, Carl told her to leave me and be with him, but she tried to mend our relationship and he walked away from her, so she ended up with no one. Sarah and I rarely speak now unless it's absolutely necessary, which is rare. I wondered at times if maybe I was wrong for not publicly outing her infidelity. The people who are important to me know the truth. I also never confronted or spoke to, for that matter, Carl, Mark, or her friend, who knew about all of this but never warned me. As for me, I found someone who is truly a good person and have a great relationship. I've never told Sarah as it's none of her business. Much like telling her family about her cheating, I thought about telling Sarah how well I'm doing, but I think that is just schadenfreude. Thanks for reading, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Ask for some thoughts. The community has them. First up, I applaud you for the way you handled it. I, on the other hand, am an a-hole. I would have told everyone why we divorced, every detail about what she did. I did that with my first wife. Glad you are finally truly happy. As for Sarah, I hope she has a miserable existence for the rest of her life. Sorry, not sorry. Next comment says, dude, you got out and moved on with someone else. Getting in contact with your ex-wife to rub it in her face will give a few minutes of happiness. But staying no contact and blocking her will give a lifetime of happiness. She knows that you're happy and she regrets her actions, but she will never tell you that. She won't admit that she was wrong, and you don't need that admission. Leave her alone. Karma will get her. P.S. Congratulations on your new relationship. Hope it's a nice lady, and if she's not, you know the drill and you can see the red flags. Good luck. Wow, I can't believe she tried to turn it around on you for discovering the hickeys and the messages on her watch. She was just upset at herself for getting caught and was projecting that onto you. I'm actually shocked you tried to make it work after all that. You sound like a very patient man, but you might have wasted your time there, especially pretending the marriage still existed just to please her. You didn't have to do that, but I guess that gave you some good karma anyways. I'm glad you found someone else. Wishing you much happiness. What do you think? Would you have left earlier? Would you have played along and pretended you were still married? Let us know in the comments below. Outro. Thank you for joining us on our space. Be sure to like and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. See you next time.
Story 4.
Sharon was not pleased. Actually, she was furious. Furious with me, her husband, Frank Miller. How did I discern her ire? It's straightforward. While driving us home from a gathering hosted by acquaintances of hers, Anne and Hank Vander Link, she sat clenched in her seat, as distant from me as possible, wearing a scowl that could curdle milk. Why was she so upset with me? Well, truth be told, I reckon she had every right, given that I single-handedly spoiled her evening. Quite the blunder, huh? I ought to feel ashamed for embarrassing my wife, the mother of my 3 kids. Shame on me. Shame on me. So how did I manage to embarrass her and ruin the night? I grabbed the wrong key. You see, there's a peculiar twist to the parties hosted by the Wonderlings. A twist that my dear wife suddenly decided to embrace. Unfortunately for her, I had no interest in it. We'd never attended one of their gatherings before, but my wife, married to me for a decade, neglected to inform me that the evening's affair would deviate from the usual party scene. She neglected to inform me beforehand that at this gathering, all the wives were expected to place their house keys in a bowl. Subsequently, the husbands would blindly select a key from the bowl and then accompany the corresponding wife to her bedroom for an entire night of love-making, illicit pleasures. As the party drew to a close and I suddenly grasped the nature of the event, I nearly lost my mind. I've never been so furious with Sharon. I seized her hand and pulled her into the kitchen. Did you have prior knowledge of how this party would conclude? I demanded. She met my gaze with a smirk. Yes. And you didn't see fit to inform me of this crucial detail beforehand? No, because I knew you wouldn't consent if given the choice. You're absolutely right. I won't consent to this, and I always have a choice. Let's depart from here. We can't leave now. It would be impolite. You'd place me in an uncomfortable situation. Furthermore, it's just for one night. It could inject some excitement back into our marriage. I can do without this type of excitement. Let's apologize and leave. We truly need a bit of excitement, Frank. I only need a bit of excitement for one night. I want to feel desired, not solely as a wife and mother. It's just one night and it won't happen again. Plus, I already dropped our house key in the bowl, so we're committed, she reasoned. It's not too late. Look at me, I retorted. Taking her hand, I practically dragged her back to the living room where everyone gathered around a bowl of keys, ready to pick their partner for the night. Sharon resisted, trying to break free from my grasp. Relinquishing my hold, I approached the bowl and declared, I wasn't briefed on this aspect of the evening's festivities, and I won't share my wife with any of you. Digging through the bowl, I located the key to our house, distinguished by its red plastic cover. Extracting it, I addressed the astonished partygoers. As I said, I wasn't informed of the party's rules beforehand. I don't condone infidelity, and my marriage vows are sacred. Though there were murmurs of discontent and a few scowling faces, I remained resolute. Turning to my wife, who was visibly furious, I issued an ultimatum. Sharon, you have a choice, but you must decide now. Come with me and forget this madness, or stay and never return home. I'm leaving. All eyes shifted to my wife, her face now flushed with embarrassment. For a moment, she appeared defiant. I apologize for my husband's behavior, she addressed the group. I'd prefer to stay, but given the circumstances, it's best if I leave. Reluctantly and angrily, she followed me to the car. You're insufferable and selfish, she lashed out as we left. How could you embarrass me like that in front of everyone? We'll never be invited back. Embarrass you? What about how you embarrassed me by not telling me about your plan to sleep with another man tonight? Well, you could pick one of the other wives, and we could both enjoy ourselves. I don't desire another woman, Sharon. I reserve this lovemaking activity exclusively for my wife. And I'm quite dismayed to discover, after a decade of marriage, that you want to share your bed with another man. It would only be once, Frank. Out of all the countless nights we've shared and will continue to share, you're proposing just one night with someone else? It's not a minor request, especially considering I've been a faithful husband for the past 10 years. In truth, Sharon, this is a significant request. I can't believe what I'm hearing. But it means so much to you, doesn't it? Yes, Frank, it does. I've been anticipating this for weeks. A night where I'm not just a wife and mother, but a woman experiencing adventure, feeling cherished, and indulging in a few hours of closeness with another man. So it's your only opportunity to have coition with someone other than your husband? Yes, I suppose. I slammed on the brakes, executed a 180-degree turn in the middle of the street, and sped back toward the Van der Links's house, tires squealing. Sharon let out a squeal as I made an exclamation. What are you thinking, Frank? If sleeping with another man for one night is that important to you, then go ahead and do it, Sharon. I halted in front of their house, noticing all the other cars still parked there. It seemed there was still time for you to join in. So go ahead, step out. Have a good time tonight. Find some stranger to satisfy you in ways I evidently can't. Frank, this is just an adventure, something different. Your performance is always perfect and you know how to please me. But I can't go to them alone. We both have to participate. Each of us has to spend the night with a new partner. I've already told you, I want no part in this. Sharon, I've never been unfaithful to you, and I won't sleep with another woman until our marriage is over. What does that mean? It means exactly what I said. It's decision time, Sharon. So if you're going to do this, go ahead and join your unfaithful friends. I'm sure they'll welcome a beautiful woman into their circle, even if she's not accompanied by her husband. Sharon reached for the doorknob but hesitated. I could see her contemplating. Could you pick me up in the morning, Frank? Wherever I end up, I'll call you and let you know. It would mean a lot to me. No chance. But I'm sure your new lover will be happy to take you wherever after spending the night with you. It sounds awful when you put it like that, Frank. He won't be my lover. He'll simply be someone new, a one-night experience, that's all. I love you, Frank. You're the only man I've ever loved or will ever love. Do you truly believe that? You can't claim to love me and then go through with this plan. Let me clarify. You're just seeking a new carnal encounter, right? Consequently, another man will potentially impregnate you. That's crude, Frank. You know I'm on birth control, so that's not a concern. He won't get me pregnant. But yes, just one night with someone new. It'll be thrilling. Have you ever wondered what it's like to explore someone new lovemaking? Just a new experience, new sensations, everything fresh and different. Just wait and see. Our closeness will be better than ever. Well, enjoy your time with the new guy and the new sensations. Sharon, I hope you're aware of what you're doing. It's only one night, Frank. It's not a big deal. Even a second would be too much. We have our entire future together. If you do this, we won't have anything left. I'm pleading with you, Sharon. Please don't do this. You're overreacting, Frank, and I'm sticking to my decision. You won't ruin my night. I want to experience something new, and you can't stop me. I'm going through with it, and you'll just have to accept it. Do you understand? Tomorrow morning, I'll be completely devoted to you again, and I'll make you forget all about this. Tomorrow morning, you'll be history. I'll never want you again after you let another man have what I've always considered mine. Now you're being irrational. I belong to you, and you'll want me too. I'll make sure of it. Sharon, listen to me. If you leave this car and go back to that house, it's over between us. Your one night will cost you your marriage and your family. No, that won't happen, Frank. I won't allow it. We're married and always will be. We're meant for each other. I love you, and I know how much you love me. We'll get through this. You'll see. I'll make it up to you countless times. You're breaking my heart, Sharon. Don't act like a child. Think of it as taking me on an adventure. What's exciting for you is the end of us. You're not making sense, Frank. I'll change your mind in the morning, and you know how I'll do it. Do you honestly think I'd touch you after you spend the night with someone else? You'll touch me, and more. I'll ensure that. God, I never realized how foolish you are. Get out. My words stunned her, but she opened the car door and began to exit. See you in the morning, Frank. I shook my head sadly, sighing. No, Sharon, I won't see you. And as soon as she pushed the door to close it, I stepped on the gas pedal, making the tires squeal again, this time for half a block. As I drove away, I stole a glance at her in the rearview mirror. She looked completely stunned, standing on the side of the road in disbelief, mouth agape, still motionless as I turned the corner and she vanished from sight. In my heart of hearts, I prayed she'd call me immediately, admit her mistake, and ask me to come back for her. But she didn't. I was shattered and overwhelmed. Tears streamed down my cheeks, blurring my vision. My wife had just chosen a night with a stranger over our 10 years of marriage. Based on her behavior, I'm convinced she genuinely believed I'd brush off her little scheme. Maybe she expected me to be mad for a couple of days, then she'd charm me back into bed and everything would be forgiven. Well, she couldn't have been more mistaken. My dad once told me that if a woman is seriously contemplating sleeping with another man, she's already mentally done it. For a married woman to entertain such thoughts, she's already broken her vows. Sure, it's normal to fantasize about an attractive person, but if she's plotting how to make it a reality, she's already crossed the line. As painful as this realization is, it's shattered our marriage, and it's time to move forward. The real tragedy in all of this is our 3 children, 9-year-old Jocelyn, 8-year-old Rebecca Ann, and 4-year-old Frank Jr. How can I bear to be without them every day? But I can't let Sharon's actions go without serious consequences. The kids were at my mother's for the weekend, giving me time to plan my next moves. I drove around aimlessly for half an hour, still holding out hope that Sharon would call for a ride. But it became clear she'd made her decision. Finally, I settled on my initial plan and headed home. Upon pulling into the driveway, my cell phone rang and I hoped it was her, urging me to pick her up. However, the caller ID revealed it wasn't Sharon. Despite this, I answered the call. In the background, the sounds of music and laughter from the party resonated, and a man spoke. Frank, buddy, it's Rick Wilson from the party you left. Your wife gave me your number, hoping I could talk some sense into you. She's eager for tonight's events. That's all she's saying. You're one lucky guy. Every guy here hopes to get her key. She's insisting someone will have an unforgettable night, and she wants you to be a part of it. It's getting heated here. Everyone's eager to see who they'll be spending the night with. You still have time to come back and pick a key. There are some attractive women here ready to show you a good time tonight. Screw you, Rick Wilson, you manipulative fool. And everyone at your party can go to hell with you, including my unfaithful wife. I hope you all meet a horrible fate. I hung up and staggered into the house. In less than 20 minutes, I packed 2 suitcases with enough clothes for a week or two. Grabbing my laptop and shaving kit, I loaded everything into the car. After rummaging through a few drawers, I found our marriage certificate and tore it into 4 pieces. Then, I retrieved a hammer from my wedding ring. It took several blows to flatten it, but once done, I placed both the certificate and ring on Sharon's pillow, locked the front door behind me, and drove off into the night. I aimed to locate a motel a few miles outside of town, but before that, I circled past the Van Deerlinks' place once more. Several cars had departed the party, and a few people stood in pairs conversing on the street. Not spotting Sharon, I assumed she had either moved on with her new companion or paired up with Mr. Van der Link himself. The motel I settled on was in a nearby town. It didn't appear overly large, but it boasted a secluded parking lot in the rear, shielding my car from prying eyes in case anyone happened to look for it. After locking the car, I purchased a 6-pack of Newcastle from the adjacent convenience store and opted to catch some TV. The first 2 drinks eased my tension, and as I cracked open the third, my phone rang. Seeing it was Sharon, and knowing she wasn't calling for me to pick her up, I allowed it to go to voicemail. "Frank, you're behaving like a child over this. Rick Wilson filled me in on what you told him. How many times do I have to say it's just one night? I'll let one new guy have coition with me a few times, and that doesn't make me immoral. I swear, even if it stings a bit, I'll make it up to you in ways you can't imagine when I return tomorrow. You probably don't care, but since you removed our house key from the bowl, they gave me a new one. The guy who got it is named Glenn. He seems nice and assured me he won't pressure me into anything. He's married with kids like ours. Since you're at our house, I went to his. His wife and her boyfriend will also stay, but in a different part of the house so we won't disturb each other when things get heated and we start making noise. You know how vocal I can get when you touch me?" She giggled. "Darling, I know you're a bit upset, but I promise I won't let him do anything you haven't done." I suggested to Glenn that we stick to the usual stuff. He's met me a few times, mostly in missionary or something else for variety. Glenn agreed, especially since it's my first time with another man. He'll take me home when we're done tomorrow. I'll shower and freshen up before I return to be clean and ready for you. No leftovers for you, baby. Sweet dreams, my love. See you in the morning. Get ready for some excitement. Love you, Frank." I felt like my insides were being torn apart. Never did I imagine I was married to such a foolish and immoral woman. Sure, Sharon had always been a bit flighty, but it was part of her endearing charm. Now her foolishness was amplified and could cost her everything: her life, her husband, and possibly her children. She couldn't comprehend that I wouldn't forgive her after she let another man have her and flaunted it in my face. I'm sure everyone at the party had a good laugh at my expense. I was furious, wounded, and utterly humiliated. But my wife didn't care. I knew I should have ignored her message, but I couldn't resist. I dialed her number, and she answered on the 3rd ring. "Hey, honey. Glenn and I just got into bed and are getting cozy, so I can't talk for long." "Shut up, Sharon. This is likely the last you'll hear from me. You have no idea what you've done, but you'll soon find out. Enjoy your time with Glenn because the consequences will be more severe than you can imagine. Understand this, Sharon. Once you sleep with Glenn, our marriage is finished. Got it? It's over. I never thought I'd say this, but I hate you more now than I've ever loved you. I can't wait to rid myself of you completely. Expect to hear from my lawyer next week." And with that, I hung up. 30 seconds later, my phone rang. It was her. I let it go to voicemail once more. "Frank," she sounded on the verge of tears. "Why are you doing this? How can you say such things to me? I'm your wife. Can't you just let me have this one night? Glenn and I are just beginning, and now you're ruining everything for me. I don't know if I can fully enjoy being with him the way I want. We're not getting divorced. I'll be home in the morning, and we can sort things out. I would come home now, but I promised Glenn I'd be with him tonight. Please understand, I have to do this. He got my key, and I promised him he could sleep with me. And he really wants it now. Oh yes, right now, while I'm talking to you, I have to go. Oh God, Glenn is ready. Oh, I love you, Frank. I'll always love you. Please don't say that. When I do this with him, our marriage will end. There's nothing I can do about it, honey. He's already here. Oh God, please. Oh yes, please try to understand." And I heard her whisper to him, "Sleep with me, Glenn. This is my night. See you in the morning, dear." And again, I couldn't resist. I called her back, and this time the phone rang several times before going to voicemail, indicating Glenn already had it, so I left a message. "After hearing your last voicemail, it's clear Glenn already has you, and you love it. You can spend the night with him, feeling all the new sensations he gives you. You've shattered my heart, Sharon, and I'll never forgive you for that. It's good you kept your promise to Glenn, a man you just met, but you couldn't uphold your marriage vows to the man who loved you and stayed faithful for over 10 years. I don't even recognize you anymore. You won't see me in the morning. You may never see me again, but next week you'll be served with divorce papers, and I'll file for infidelity. Now that you're with Glenn, what else did you allow? Only me. You're officially a cheating adulterer. From now on, you can sleep with any man you want as much as you want. But in case you care, you've lost me forever, and I'll definitely keep that promise." Sharon never returned my call. I know how aroused she becomes during coition. She enters a realm where nothing and no one else matters. It's just her and the man she's with. Whether she received my last message or not didn't matter. The damage was irreparable. Our marriage was finished. I couldn't forgive her for treating me with such disrespect, humiliating me, and undermining our marriage. I finished the remainder of the six-pack. I didn't want to spend the night picturing my wife lying undressed in Glenn's bed, the woman who, until tonight, had been exclusively mine. Sharon was vocal during coition, and I was certain she would cry out for Glenn to satisfy her, just as she did with me, and I'm sure she did the same with Glenn. Eventually, the beer took its toll, and I drifted off to sleep, tears still streaming down my face. I woke up about 4 hours later, and reality dawned on me. My once beautiful wife had betrayed me, and I needed to devise a plan to safeguard my children, rid myself of her, and inflict as much misery as possible on those at the party. We reside in Biloxi, Mississippi, a picturesque antebellum area on the Gulf Coast. Given that Mississippi recognizes infidelity as grounds for divorce, I might avoid paying child support and potentially gain custody of my children. I required a skilled attorney, a very capable attorney. I showered, changed clothes, and dialed my mom at 7:30 to brief her on the situation. She was equally stunned by Sharon's actions. With the kids under her care for the weekend, she assured me she wouldn't divulge anything to them. I informed her I'd retrieve them once I had a plan in place. Despite my reluctance, I conceded that Sharon would likely be awarded custody, at least temporarily. I grudgingly acknowledged she had been a devoted mother to our children and a faithful wife to me. However, that perception shifted after last night. Following my conversation with my mom, I made my way to a nearby diner for breakfast. Before I could even park, my phone rang. It was Sharon. Contemplating whether to answer, I opted for voicemail. Strangely, she didn't leave a message but promptly called again. Ignoring the call, she persistently dialed until eventually, on the fifth attempt, she left a tearful voicemail. "Frank, please answer the phone. Talk to me, damn it! What do you mean? You might never see me again. And why all this talk about divorce papers? You can't leave me, Frank. I won't allow it. Our 3 precious children need us both. Dear God, Frank, why did you tear up our marriage certificate and discard your wedding ring? How could you? I gave you that ring on our wedding day, and you vowed to wear it forever. It symbolizes our enduring love for each other. I knew you'd be upset with me, but I never imagined you'd go this far. I love you deeply, Frank. I just needed that special night with Glenn, and it was special. He made me feel youthful again. I've already forgotten what it's like to laugh and scream simultaneously, but as wonderful as last night was, you're my man, Frank. My only man. I know how to make it right and dissolve your grievances. Please come home, Frank. Let me show you how much I adore you. Come home and bring me back." At that moment, she broke into tears, her words becoming muffled and hard to decipher. "Damn it, Frank. Why can't you see that I just needed one night with someone new? I needed to experience something different with a man who desired me, who craved me. It felt good to know that another man finds me desirable, that he can't wait to have me, to possess me. You don't understand how affirming it is for a woman my age to see a man excited about her and to know she's the reason he desires her. Oh, please, Frank, you have to realize it was only about coition, nothing more. He simply had coition with me. Please, Frank, let's talk. I love you. You and our kids mean everything to me." Her voice wavered as she spoke. "It was just coition, Frank. Oh, God. He only had coition with me a few times. We were just engaging in coition. That's all, Frank." Her sobs persisted until the message concluded. I stood outside the diner, stunned. Had she harbored these thoughts throughout our entire marriage? And now, after 30 years, it all surfaced suddenly. Sharon remained a striking woman, shoulder-length dark brown hair, light blue eyes, and a stunning figure. While her chest weren't overly large, they weren't small either. And yes, her hips had widened slightly after 3 kids. Still, she continued to attract attention from men wherever she went. So what was this talk about needing to feel desired by another man? I consistently demonstrated my love and desire for her. I regularly surprised her with flowers and took her out on weekly dates. I even bought her alluring negligees and affirmed her beauty and my love for her daily. Until last night, I believed our bed life was fulfilling. We made love at least 3 times a week, always reaching multiple climaxes. What could I have possibly overlooked? Despite losing my appetite, I entered the diner, found a vacant table, and ordered scrambled eggs, toast, and black coffee. Although I barely touched my meal, I consumed at least 6 cups of coffee. I had never felt so adrift, so hollow, so utterly defeated. I'd heard people wish for pass away, and now I understood why. The only thing keeping me from succumbing to despair was the thought of my children. I had to endure for their sake. to navigate the turmoil Sharon had unleashed and carve out a future for them. This realization fueled my resolve. I would persevere. I just needed to devise a plan. Sharon called my phone incessantly that day, but I consistently sent her calls to voicemail. She pleaded for understanding, but never once apologized for her actions. There was no admission of error, only insistence that she needed that one night. And my role, apparently, was to comprehend and support her. All they did was engage in carnal activity, merely 3 times throughout the night, and again in the morning. That's it. How could I fail to recognize that this was just a one-night stand, easily forgiven and forgotten? She mentioned she was worried she hadn't turned off her phone in time, and I might have overheard her with Glenn. She hoped I hadn't heard too much. I had to give her credit. She certainly knew how to plunge a knife into my heart and twist the blade. I couldn't fathom her level of foolishness. If there was one silver lining, it was that I now possessed sufficient audio evidence of her infidelity to use against her in court. I wasn't certain if it would suffice, but it was undeniably compelling and left nothing to the imagination. Tomorrow, I would seek out a competent lawyer and gather all the necessary information. I paid a visit to my children at my mother's place. She mentioned that Sharon had already called to check on the kids and inquire about my whereabouts. Mom informed her that I was devastated by her actions and had no desire to see or speak to her. According to my mother, Sharon began to cry, expressing her confusion. Mom reassured her that no man would comprehend why a wife would flaunt a night of closeness with another man in her husband's face. Sharon inquired if she should retrieve the children, but my mother suggested it would be best for her to keep them for a few more days until things settled down. The children greeted me with joy, but inquired about their mother's whereabouts. I explained that she was occupied with a special project and they would be staying with their grandmother a bit longer. We played together, shared dinner, then I bid them farewell with hugs and kisses before heading back to my motel. Tomorrow promised to be hectic. Before calling it a day, I made one final stop, or rather, drove past. Tears welled up as soon as I laid eyes on my house again. I mourned what I had lost and could never reclaim. It struck me as odd not to spot any unfamiliar vehicles in the driveway. Although a car could have been in the garage, the solitary glow from the kitchen downstairs indicated Sharon was likely alone tonight. Yet a lingering concern surfaced. I still cared. Despite her actions, the betrayal stung deeply. I wrestled with the urge to stop and observe her, but ultimately succumbed. Parking a block away, I approached the side where I could peek through the kitchen window. There she sat, a discarded bottle of Grey Goose by her side, hair disheveled, mascara smudged. Clad in a robe, she rested her head on the table facing me, eyes closed. It was evident she wept, surrounded by a mound of tissues. For a moment, a pang of sympathy stirred within me. Then, recollection of her choices and their repercussions flooded back, chilling me to the core. I resisted the urge to lash out and instead retreated to my car, driving off with a tinge of satisfaction. Perhaps she was beginning to grasp the gravity of her actions. If she sought solace, she could turn to her paramour, Glenn. Monday dawned, and I faced a busy agenda. At the diner, I devoured eggs, toast, and coffee, finishing my meal entirely. I phoned my mom and spoke with each of my children, assuring them of my love and imminent return. Next, I contacted my office, informing my assistant that personal matters would occupy my attention for the next 2 days, urging her to reach out if anything urgent arose. She inquired if all was well, and I replied in the affirmative, promising to elaborate later. During my final year at Ole Miss, I shared an apartment with 2 close friends, Douglas Prater III and Maxwell McCrae. Our bond endured over time, despite infrequent reunions. While I pursued a degree in computer science, Doug pursued business administration, and Max pursued law. Initially, I reached out to Doug, asking if he and Max could join me for drinks around 5. I explained that I needed their counsel on a pressing issue, and Doug agreed to coordinate with Max to meet me at the lava bar by the beach. Arriving early, I awaited their arrival. Max appeared slightly after 5, followed by Doug 10 minutes later. After warm greetings, we settled at a patio table, ordered beers, and raised our glasses in a toast. "What's on your mind, Frank?" inquired Doug. "Your call sounded serious," he added. "Sharon cheated on me and flaunted it," I disclosed, narrating the entire ordeal. "Man, that's rough," sympathized Doug. "I can't fathom she'd do such a thing," chimed in Max. "Indeed, and with no remorse, believing I'm overreacting." "Can you believe that?" I exclaimed. "So, what's the plan?" Max inquired. "I'm contemplating divorce and seeking retribution against Glenn and the others at the party. But most importantly, I want to pursue custody of my kids," I outlined. It won't be a cakewalk, Frank, cautioned Max. Unless she's unfit as a mother. If she brings strange men home for trysts while the kids are present, you have leverage. Otherwise, if she's a good mother, she'll likely secure custody and you'll have to pay child support, he advised. I'm fine with that, as long as I have frequent access to them. It's manageable, Max affirmed. Courts generally prefer both parents to be involved in child rearing, provided they're both competent caregivers. What about finances? Doug interjected. Sharon's a stay-at-home mom, and I assume you earn a substantial six-figure income. How are your financials looking? Checking and savings accounts? Any investments? 401k? Individual retirement account? I have all of those, totaling around $700,000 to $800,000, perhaps a bit more. The court will likely split it evenly. Give Sharon the house along with custody. But if you can substantiate her infidelity, which appears quite plausible, you may avoid alimony payments. Do you know an exceptional divorce attorney? One of the partners at my firm is among Mississippi's top family law practitioners. Her name's Maddie Simmons. Want me to arrange a meeting for you? Certainly, the sooner the better, Max suggested. In the meantime, Doug added, I'll explore options to safeguard some of your assets. Send me all your financial details and I'll handle it. After another toast, we shared a few more drinks and bid farewell. Suddenly, I felt a sense of relief I hadn't experienced since this ordeal began. As I drove back to my motel, my mind raced with all the tasks ahead. My cell phone rang and it was Sharon. After a brief hesitation, I realized I'd have to confront her eventually, so I pulled over and answered. What do you want, Sharon? I opted for directness, cutting to the chase. What do you think I want, Frank? I want my husband to come home where he belongs. I could hear the tears in her voice. Unfortunately, your little escapade with Glenn, as you termed it, makes it impossible for me to return home. Her sobs filled the silence. Don't say that, Frank. Don't you dare say that. I spent just one night away from you after 10 years, and that's not grounds for divorce. Think again. Infidelity is certainly grounds for divorce in Mississippi. Why do you keep calling it cheating? It was just one night with someone new, just a fling. When a married woman gets involved with someone new, whether it's for one night or 1 second, it's cheating, I said. I told you that the second you had coition with another man, it would be over between us, and I wasn't kidding. Oh God, please, Frank, you can't do this to me, Sharon pleaded. You did this to yourself. Sharon, what the hell happened to you? Are you on hallucinogenic medications? Did you have a mental breakdown, or are you just incredibly stupid? I asked. It just seems to me that you were so caught up in the idea of having coition with another man that you didn't care about our children or what I thought or wanted. You just had to do it. Well, guess what? You did it. And now you're paying the consequences, I continued. I thought we were really happy. Nice house, 3 great kids. Our bed life was great. And then you ruined it all by sleeping with some stranger and rubbing it in my face, I lamented. We've always been happy, Frank. And we are happy now. I was just wondering what it would be like to be with another man for one dirty night in our long life together. Just try someone new without injury. That's all, Sharon explained. No injury? For some reason, you don't understand at all what damage you have caused. You completely destroyed our family overnight. Because of your selfishness, you have broken our life into a million pieces. And there is no hope of ever putting them back together again, I declared. First off, Sharon, you broke my heart. Even though you made it clear you didn't care, I said. Do you remember me? Your husband, the man who loved you without question from the moment I laid eyes on you. The one who works long hours every day to give you and our kids the life you dream of. And yet, you spat in my face and left me to find comfort in the arms of a total stranger. You gave him parts of your body that 10 years ago you promised would only belong to me. You made this promise before God, our families, and all our friends. And last night you rubbed it in my face, letting me know you were going to do it, no matter how much I begged you not to. You basically told me to get the hell out. You do whatever you want, and it's none of my business. I never meant for it to look like this, Frank. I don't know why, but I didn't think I was hurting you. I just wanted to try something new. I love you. It was never about you. It was about what I needed. And that's what brought us here. You took yourself out of the equation. All your cheating with Glenn last night concerned only you and him. You didn't think about me or our kids. I deserve a special night just for myself. Well, luckily for you, Your Highness, you got your wish, and it ended your marriage to me, and most likely tarnished your reputation with your family and friends. There might be a day when I forgive you, but I'll never forget, and I'll make sure everyone knows what you did. just like you called me a spoiled brat for being upset about your affair. Let's see how you handle that, knowing everyone will hear you confess to what you did with Glenn. And how many times? Oh God, Frank, please. My parents would be devastated if they found out. Too bad, Sharon. You should have thought about that before. You made your bed and now you have to lie in it. You seem to think what you did is like getting a traffic ticket or not returning a library book. You traded a solid 10-year marriage with a man who adored you for late-night encounters with a stranger who only cared about instant gratification. Do you feel good, Sharon? That Glenn slept with you 4 times and it cost you your family? I didn't have to lose anything, Frank. You should have loved me enough to support me and let me do it. There isn't a single sane man on this planet who would support his wife having an affair just because she wanted to try someone new. It doesn't work that way, and you should have known it. What were you thinking, Sharon, that led you to this? I didn't expect you to be so upset about it. I mean, seriously, Frank, what's the big deal about letting another man have coition with me multiple times? Sharon questioned. And what I did with Glenn last night doesn't mean I love you any less. I've heard about couples hooking up at Van der Links, and it intrigued me. Why can't a husband or wife have a love-making night with a stranger? Someone nice and safe, enjoy the experience and explore new sensations? I decided I wanted to experience another man having closeness with me. It didn't mean I loved you any less, Frank, Sharon continued. It just meant I needed a new experience with a different man, just once, and then I would fully commit myself to you again and never do it again. But that meant you didn't respect me. I begged you not to do it over and over again. And you just smiled and said, "See you in the morning." Frank, you took away the closeness we've shared for over 10 years. The vows that meant everything to me meant so little to you. Our bodies coming together created 3 beautiful children who love us both. We were a family, and now you willingly gave that part of yourself that created our children to another man. And for what? A good time? A one-night stand? You say it was just one night and I need to accept it and move on, I said angrily. I say it was nothing less than a complete abandonment of me, our family, our sacred vows of loyalty and allegiance, and any respect you've ever had for me. You wanted to be with another man and you did it. Congratulations. But in doing so, Sharon, you threw away everything you supposedly valued and treasured. Part of me still loves you, but I can never be a part of your life again, I admitted. Damn it, Frank. Why are you so stubborn? Why can't you understand that it was just something I needed and come to terms with it? I'm yours forever. Nothing has changed. Everything's different now, Sharon. You're not just mine anymore. I don't get why you can't see that. I pleaded with you not to do this. I can't forgive and forget. You betrayed me willingly, and this pain will last a lifetime. I found a lawyer. Tomorrow I'm filing for divorce, citing infidelity. I'll name your lover Glenn and anyone else from your gathering that I can identify. Imagine their reaction when they learn you're responsible for breaking up their circle and possibly damaging their reputations. Go to hell, Sharon, and take your cheating friends with you. The moment I met with Maddie Simmons, EastQ, I knew she was the right attorney to handle my situation. She cut through the nonsense and got straight to business. She asked why I wanted a divorce and what outcomes I sought. I explained I expected to split our assets with Sharon, offering our house in exchange for less cash. I knew I likely wouldn't get full custody of the kids, but I wanted unrestricted visitation without child support. I presented all the audio evidence I had of Sharon's infidelity, where she confessed repeatedly to sleeping with Glenn. Miss Simmons shook her head in disbelief that my wife was so careless as to admit her affair, let alone in a way that could be used against her in court. Well, we'll probably need a voice recognition expert to confirm it's your wife's voice, she advised. But unless we encounter an exceptionally biased judge, the recordings should hold up in court. We spent the remaining hour discussing my objectives regarding Glenn and the other participants at the wife-swapping event. While she doubted we could demand monetary compensation from them, she suggested we could find ways to expose their activities and shame them enough to inflict significant repercussions. I agreed that would be satisfactory for me. After providing a deposit, I requested that Sharon be served promptly. She assured me it wouldn't take long and promised to notify me beforehand. On Tuesday afternoon, I picked up my kids from my mom and took them to Sharon's house. When she greeted us at the door, she hugged and kissed all 3 of them warmly before reaching out to me. However, I stepped back, causing her to burst into tears and plead with me to stay. I explained that I couldn't, but I thought it would be best for the kids to return home to her. I arranged to pick them up on Friday for the weekend. Sharon appeared to be struggling. and I sympathized with her, but she brought this upon herself. Her distress was no worse than what I was enduring because of her actions. On Wednesday, I returned to work, realizing I couldn't neglect my job. I needed it now more than ever, not only for financial support, but also as a distraction. I believed that if I continued to dwell in the agony and self-pity of Sharon's betrayal, I would eventually lose my sanity, which I couldn't afford for the sake of my children. On Thursday, I met Doug and Max again, this time for dinner at the Oyster House, where I indulged in hand-shucked oysters and a dirty martini. During dinner and drinks, I updated them on my children and the divorce. Doug explored ways to conceal some of my money, and I granted him permission to proceed. Though it wouldn't be much, it would be beneficial in the long run. We devised a relatively simple plan to disrupt the wife-swapping club without risking accusations of slander. Max had a friend who worked as a reporter for the Biloxi Sun-Herald. He was confident that if I provided him with the location of Vanderlink's house and the approximate meeting time of the wife-swapping group, he could uncover the identities of some participants. He planned to write an editorial exposing the Biloxi wife-swapping scene as larger than believed, publishing photos of couples coming and going, hinting at the involvement of certain businesses without naming names. This would likely incite the religious majority to raise objections, causing trouble for the entire group. I gave Max what little information I had, and he said he would begin with that. With optimistic words, we shook hands and parted until next time. My weekend with the kids was delightful. We went shopping for new clothes, visited Disney's Grand 18 movie theater in D'Iberville, and spent the day at the beach, swimming and playing frisbee. My children were my top priority, and I swore I would never leave them. On Monday morning, Max called me. A friend of his from the newspaper had embraced the story idea and was working on capturing photos of couples entering Vanderlinks and emerging with new partners. Although faces would be blurred, people aren't foolish, and in a city this size, it wouldn't take long for the moral majority to piece it together. If all went well, it could become a front-page story. Later this week, I'll keep my fingers crossed. Sharon persistently called me, pleading for me to return home, promising to do anything to make me forget about her actions. However, she never apologized or acknowledged her mistake. On Wednesday, my lawyer informed me that Sharon would be served with divorce papers at our home on Friday morning. Shortly after, Doug revealed he had found a way to conceal about a third of my money by putting it in my children's names. Then, Max called, informing me that his friend from the newspaper discovered that the wife-swapping meeting planned to gather again Friday night at Vanderlink's. He intended to stake out the location and photograph everyone coming and going. He also wanted to interview me about the party, with the article scheduled to appear in the paper next week. I felt a sense of relief I hadn't experienced in a while. Friday arrived, and I anticipated Sharon's call after she received the divorce papers. As expected, my lawyer called around 2:30 to confirm she had been served. Within minutes, Sharon called, her tone far from friendly. "Hi, Sharon. How are you?" "What did you do, Frank?" she demanded. "I filed for divorce, Sharon, as I said I would," I responded calmly. "And I told you there will be no divorce. You've reported me for treason. Spending one night with another man isn't cheating, Frank," she retorted tearfully. "I have to disagree, Sharon. Having love-making relations with someone other than your spouse is infidelity in Mississippi," I stated firmly. Her voice cracked as she cried, "Why are you so angry with me, Frank? I love you. Glenn and I had an affair, that's all." "My mistake, Sharon. How could I have misunderstood that having coition with someone other than your spouse wasn't cheating? It's over, Sharon. I warned you repeatedly and begged you not to, but you did it anyway, and now you'll face the consequences. And I believe your troubles are far from over. Goodbye, Sharon. I wish you a happy life," I concluded, ending the call. My foremost dilemma remained my enduring love for Sharon, a feeling that likely would persist. However, trust was irreparably shattered, rendering it impossible for me to continue in a marriage with a cheater. Though I knew I should avoid Vanderlink's Friday night gathering, I couldn't resist the temptation to drive by, just to glimpse what was happening. Plus, I wanted to check if Sharon's car was present, even though I suspected she would skip the event. To my relief, her car was nowhere in sight. Yet, she could have arrived with someone else. True, the club typically permitted only couples, but they made an exception for her once before. Who's to say they wouldn't do so again? Across the street, a van was parked, likely housing the reporter. I silently wished him luck in exposing their misdeeds. Soon afterward, Max's journalist friend contacted me for details, which I readily provided. He disclosed capturing over 100 photographs and recognizing more than a dozen couples, all respected citizens of the city. Oddly, it appeared that the same couples were not consistently entering and exiting the house. 2 hours later, Max furnished him with a photo of my wife to aid in identification, confirming she wasn't among the participants. He requested my account of the key party's inner workings, particularly regarding how keys were deposited into a large bowl. Though I hadn't witnessed the subsequent key selection firsthand, I gleaned a clear understanding from Sharon's account and eavesdropping on other couples discussing past experiences. Before concluding, he sought permission to indirectly reference first-hand knowledge of a marriage ruined by such parties, leading to children suffering due to divorce. I encouraged him to proceed until names were called. The article surfaced in the Sunday edition of the newspaper, triggering widespread outrage. Not only did it grace the front page with a large photo of couples entering and exiting, their faces obscured, but a dozen additional images sprawled across 4 more pages. Despite efforts to conceal identities, many participants were easily recognizable by their vehicles and attire. It was essentially Biloxi's elite. By Monday, the entire city buzzed with discussions about the exposé and the scandalous parties. Numerous priests aired grievances in radio and TV interviews, decrying the moral decline within their Christian community, while civic leaders denounced the city's tarnished reputation. Lawsuits and counterclaims ensued, to no avail. Repercussions included prominent companies losing clients, and multiple couples ending up in divorce court. For me, it was a humorous form of retribution for the agony endured from losing my wife and family. Even if some recognized my humiliation as a betrayed man, I remained indifferent. Revenge was all that mattered. Sharon persistently attempted to reconcile for months, but her efforts were futile. The divorce finalized, granting me joint custody of our children. During my custody months, she had them on weekends and vice versa. It wasn't ideal, but we managed. Since Sharon didn't contest any aspect of the divorce, I spared her the embarrassment of sharing the audio confession of her infidelity with her family or friends. As for the couples involved in the key parties, some divorced and relocated, while others simply vanished. Sharon resumed dating, although she seemed oblivious to why her actions were unacceptable to me. But that was her concern. I wished her future husband the best of luck. I dated several pleasant women, but never found one I was ready to commit to for life. Some wanted to move in, but I remained hesitant to hand over a key.
Harrison Grayson stared at his computer screen, lines of code blurring together as his mind drifted. At 39, he had achieved everything he'd set out to do: a successful career as a software engineer, a beautiful home in the Seattle suburbs, and a picture-perfect family. And yet a gnawing unease had taken root in his chest. He glanced at the framed photo on his desk. It showed him with his wife Savannah and their 2 children, Nolan and Isla, all smiles on a sunny beach. The image felt like a relic from another time. A notification popped up on his screen. Another Instagram post from Savannah. With a sigh, Harry clicked on it. There she was, radiant as ever, posing with a group of women he didn't recognize. The caption read, "Girls' night out. Living our best lives, #empowered, #no regrets." Harry's brow furrowed. It was Tuesday afternoon. Since when did Savannah have girls' nights on weekdays? He closed the app and tried to refocus on his work. But the nagging feeling persisted. Things have been off with Savannah lately. She was distant, distracted, and always on her phone. Their conversations felt superficial, devoid of the warmth and intimacy they once shared. At 5 p.m., Harry shut down his computer and headed home. As he drove through the quiet suburban streets, he tried to pinpoint when things had started to change. Was it when Savannah's lifestyle blog took off? When she started amassing thousands of followers? Or was it more recent, when she fell in with that new group of friends? He pulled into the driveway of their spacious 2-story home. The lawn was immaculate, the flower beds perfectly manicured. Harry had always taken pride in maintaining their home, seeing it as a tangible representation of the life he'd built for his family. Inside, he found 12-year-old Nolan sprawled on the couch, eyes glued to his phone. "Hey, buddy," Harry said. "Where's your mom?" Nolan barely looked up. "Out. Said she had a meeting." Harry checked his watch. 5:30 p.m. What kind of meeting? He headed to the kitchen, where he found 9-year-old Isla at the table, coloring. "Hi, sweetheart," he said, kissing the top of her head. "How was school?" "Good," Isla mumbled, focused on her drawing. Harry opened the fridge, frowning at its sparse contents. He'd have to go grocery shopping soon. Savannah used to handle that, but lately, He threw together a quick dinner for the kids, all the while checking his phone. No messages from Savannah. As they ate, Harry tried to engage his children in conversation, but their responses were monosyllabic. He realized with a pang how routine this had become him alone with the kids, Savannah absent. After dinner, he helped Nolan and Isla with their homework, then got them ready for bed. It was nearly 9 p.m. by the time he settled onto the couch, beer in hand. The house felt cavernous, too quiet. Harry flipped on the TV, not really watching, just needing some background noise to fill the silence. It was after 11 when he heard the front door open. Savannah's laughter drifted in, along with the clack of her heels on the hardwood floor. Shush, she giggled. The kids are sleeping. Harry stood, moving to the entryway. Savannah was there, cheeks flushed, eyes bright. She smelled of wine and unfamiliar perfume. Oh, she said, noticing him. You're still up. I was waiting for you, Harry said, keeping his voice level. Where were you? Savannah waved a hand dismissively. Just out with the girls. Lost track of time. On a Tuesday? She narrowed her eyes. What? Am I not allowed to have fun on weeknights? Harry took a deep breath, tamping down his frustration. That's not what I'm saying. I was just worried. You didn't call or text. I'm a grown woman, Harry. I don't need to check in with you every 5 minutes. She brushed past him, heading for the stairs. Harry followed. Savannah, wait. Can we talk? She paused, turning to face him with an exasperated sigh. About what? About this? Whatever's going on with you lately. You're out all the time. You barely spend any time with me or the kids. Oh, here we go. Savannah rolled her eyes. Mr. Perfect Dad, always putting the kids first. Do you ever think that maybe I need some time for myself? That I have needs too? Harry recoiled, as if slapped. Of course I think about your needs. But we're family. We have responsibilities. Responsibilities, Savannah mimicked. God, Harry, when did you get so boring? So old. The words stung, but Harry pushed on. I'm just trying to understand. If something's wrong, if you're unhappy, we can work on it. Together. For a moment, Savannah's face softened. She reached out, touching Harry's cheek. Oh, Harry. Sweet, dependable Harry. You really don't get it, do you? Before he could respond, she turned and headed up the stairs. I'm going to bed. Don't wait up. Harry stood there long after he heard the bedroom door close, trying to make sense of what had just happened. Eventually, he returned to the couch, sleep eluding him as his mind raced. This pattern continued for weeks. Savannah grew more distant, spending less and less time at home. When she was around, she was always on her phone, smiling at some private joke or furiously typing messages. Harry tried everything he could think of to bridge the growing chasm between them. He planned date nights, only to have Savannah cancel at the last minute. He suggested family outings, but she always had some excuse. He even tried talking to her about her social media presence, thinking maybe the pressure of maintaining her online image was getting to her. I'm worried about you, he said one evening after she'd spent hours staging and reshooting a casual breakfast scene for her Instagram. You seem so focused on how things look online. But what about real life? What about us? Savannah's laugh was cold. Real life? Harry, this is my real life. My followers, my brand, that's what's real. Not this suburban fairy tale you're so desperate to cling to. Harry felt as if he'd been punched in the gut. What about the kids? Don't they factor into your real life? Of course they do, Savannah snapped. But they're not babies anymore. They don't need me hovering over them 24/7. And neither do you. With that, she stormed off, leaving Harry feeling more lost than ever. As the weeks wore on, Harry found himself confiding in his best friend, Levi Turner. They'd known each other since childhood, and Harry trusted Levi implicitly. I don't know what to do, man, Harry said, nursing a beer in Levi's backyard. It's like she's a completely different person. Levi, a former military investigator turned private detective, listened intently. Have you considered that there might be someone else? Harry's grip tightened on his bottle. The thought had crossed his mind, but he'd pushed it away, unwilling to believe Savannah could betray him like that. I don't know, he admitted. Part of me doesn't want to know. Levi leaned forward, his expression serious. Harry, you're my oldest friend. I hate seeing you like this. If you want, I could do some digging. Discreetly, of course. Harry hesitated. The idea of spying on his wife felt wrong. But then he thought of her cold eyes, her dismissive words, the way she seemed to light up at every notification on her phone. Okay, he said quietly. See what you can find out. Levi nodded, clapping Harry on the shoulder. I've got your back, brother. Always. The next few days were torture for Harry. He found himself scrutinizing Savannah's every move, every expression. Was that smile for one of her followers, or someone more specific? Was she really going to a business meeting, or was it a cover for something else? He hated feeling this way, suspicious, paranoid. This wasn't who he was. He'd always prided himself on being level-headed, rational. But Savannah's behavior was pushing him to a breaking point. It all came to a head on a Wednesday evening. Harry had decided to come home early, hoping to surprise Savannah with dinner. Maybe, he thought, a quiet night together could help them reconnect. As he pulled into the driveway, he noticed Savannah's car was already there. Good, he thought. We'll have the whole evening together. But when he entered the house, the atmosphere felt off, tense. Savannah was in the living room, pacing. When she saw him, her eyes widened in surprise, then narrowed with determination. You're home early, she said, her voice unnaturally calm. Harry held up the takeout bags. I thought we could have dinner together. Talk. Savannah's laugh was hollow. Oh, Harry, always trying to fix things with food and talk stuff. She gestured to the couch. Sit down. We do need to talk, but not about what you think. Unease pooled in Harry's stomach as he sat. Savannah remained standing, her posture rigid. I've been doing a lot of thinking, she began. About us. About our marriage. And I've come to a decision. Harry's heart raced. Was this it? Was she going to ask for a divorce? But what came next was far worse than anything he could have imagined. I'm opening our marriage, Savannah announced. Whether you want it or not. Harry stared at her. Sure, he must have misheard. What? Savannah's eyes blazed with a mixture of defiance and what looked like relief. You heard me. I'm not fulfilled by this prison of monogamy anymore. I need freedom. I need to explore. Savannah. Harry's voice was barely above a whisper. What are you saying? You want to sleep with other people? I want to live, Harry. Savannah threw her hands up. I'm suffocating here, playing the role of perfect wife and mother. Do you have any idea how trapped I feel? Harry stood, anger beginning to replace his shock. Trapped? Savannah, we built this life together. We have children, for God's sake. And I'm not abandoning them, Savannah shot back. Nothing has to change for the kids. We'll still be family. I'll just have other relationships too. Other relationships, Harry repeated, the words tasting like ash in his mouth. And what about me? What about our vows? Savannah's laugh was cruel. Vows? Harry, wake up. It's 2024. Traditional marriage is outdated. I need to be true to myself. By cheating on me? It's not cheating if I'm telling you about it, Savannah said, as if explaining something to a child. I'm giving you the courtesy of knowing. You should be grateful. Harry felt as if the room was spinning. This couldn't be happening. This couldn't be Savannah, his Savannah speaking these words. And what if I say no? He managed to ask. What if I'm not okay with this arrangement? Savannah's eyes hardened. Then you'll lose me entirely. Because I'm doing this, Harry. With or without your blessing. With that, she grabbed her purse and headed for the door. I'm meeting some friends. Don't wait up. The slam of the door echoed through the house, leaving Harry standing alone in the suddenly too large living room. For a long moment, he didn't move. Couldn't move. It was as if Savannah's words had physically pinned him in place. Then, slowly, deliberately, he pulled out his phone and dialed Levi's number. Harry. Levi's voice was concerned. What's wrong? I need your help, Harry said, surprised at how calm he sounded. I need you to find out everything. About Savannah, about whoever she's seeing. Everything. Of course, Levi replied without hesitation. But Harry, are you sure? Harry's free hand clenched into a fist. I'm sure. I want proof. And when the time comes, he took a deep breath, cold determination settling over him like armor. I'm going to bury her. As he hung up, Harry surveyed the room. The family photos are on the walls. The children's toys were scattered on the floor. All the trappings of the life he'd worked so hard to build. A life Savannah was so carelessly throwing away. In that moment, something shifted inside Harry. The last vestiges of doubt and confusion burned away, replaced by a steely resolve. Savannah had made her choice. Now he would make his, and he would make damn sure she regretted ever underestimating him. The weeks following Savannah's bombshell announcement passed in a blur for Harry. On the surface, he maintained a facade of normalcy, going to work, taking care of the kids, keeping the household running. But beneath that calm exterior, a storm was brewing. Every night, after Nolan and Isla were asleep, Harry would meet with Levi, poring over the information his friend had uncovered. "I've got something," Levi said one evening, spreading out a stack of photos on Harry's kitchen table. "Meet Roman Delgado." Harry's eyes narrowed as he examined the images. They showed a man in his early 40s, tan and fit, with the kind of smile that promised the world but held nothing behind it. "Who is he?" Harry asked, his voice tight. Levi's expression was grim. "He calls himself a life coach, but from what I've dug up, he's more of a con artist. Preys on vulnerable women, convincing them to leave their husbands, empty their bank accounts, all in the name of empowerment." Harry's fist clenched. "And Savannah? She's been seeing him for months," Levi confirmed. "Those business trips she's been taking? She's been with him." The betrayal hit Harry like a physical blow. He'd suspected, of course, but having it confirmed. "There's more," Levi continued. "That group of friends she's been hanging out with? They're all Roman's clients. Or victims, depending on how you look at it. They've all either left their husbands or are in the process of doing so." Harry stood abruptly, pacing the kitchen. How could she fall for this? "Savannah's smart. She's lonely," Levi said gently. "And Roman knows exactly what buttons to push. He's good at what he does, Harry. Real good." Harry stopped, bracing himself against the counter. "What do we do now?" Levi gathered up the photos. "We keep digging. Roman's got enemies, ex-clients who've wised up to his game. If we can find them, get them to talk." Harry nodded, a cold determination settling over him. "Do it, whatever it takes." As Levi left, Harry found himself standing in front of the family photos lining the hallway. Savannah's smile beamed out at him from a dozen frozen moments: their wedding, the birth of their children, family vacations. Had it all been a lie? The next morning, Savannah breezed into the kitchen as Harry was making breakfast for the kids. She was dressed for what she claimed was another business meeting, but Harry now knew better. "Morning, everyone," she chirped, grabbing a piece of toast. "Don't wait up for me tonight. I've got a late meeting." "With Roman?" The words were out of Harry's mouth before he could stop them. Savannah froze, her eyes darting to the kids, then back to Harry. "What did you say?" Harry matched her gaze, unflinching. "You heard me." For a moment, fear flickered across Savannah's face. Then her expression hardened. "Kids, go finish getting ready for school." Once Nolan and Isla had left the room, Savannah rounded on Harry. "Have you been spying on me? Have you been lying to me?" Harry countered. "To our children?" Savannah's laugh was bitter. "Oh, don't act all high and mighty, Harry. What was I supposed to do? Stay trapped in this suburban prison?" "This prison is our family." Harry's voice was low, controlled. "Our life. The one we built together." "Well, maybe I want more than this life." Savannah snapped. "Maybe I'm tired of being Harry Grayson's perfect little wife." "Did you ever think of that?" Harry stepped closer, his eyes never leaving hers. "And Roman? Does he make you feel special, Savannah? Does he tell you how amazing and empowered you are while he bleeds you dry?" Savannah recoiled as if slapped. "You don't know anything about Roman. He understands me. He supports me." "He's using you," Harry said flatly. "You're not special to him, Savannah. You're just another mark." "Shut up." Savannah grabbed her purse, heading for the door. "You're pathetic, Harry, clinging to your outdated ideas of marriage and family. I'm evolving. It's not my fault you can't keep up." As she stormed out, Harry called after her. "This isn't over, Savannah. Not by a long shot." The slam of the door was her only response. That night, after putting the kids to bed, Harry sat alone in his home office, staring at his computer screen. He'd been combing through Savannah's social media accounts, watching as her carefully curated image of domestic bliss gave way to posts about living my truth and embracing my authentic self. His phone buzzed with a text from Levi. "Check your email." Now! Harry opened his inbox to find a message from an anonymous address. The subject line read simply, "Thought you should see this." With a sense of dread, he clicked on the attached video link. What he saw made his blood run cold. The video, titled "Cheating Wife Becomes Public Property," showed Savannah in an intimate setting with Roman. It was explicit, leaving no doubt about the nature of their relationship. Harry's first instinct was to look away, to delete the video, and try to scrub the images from his mind. But a colder, more calculated part of him knew this was exactly what he needed. He forwarded the link to Levi with a short message. "Can we use this?" Levi's response came quickly. "Legally? Absolutely. But Harry, are you sure you want to go nuclear?" Harry stared at the screen for a long moment. Then, his jaw set, he began typing out a reply. But before he could hit send, another text from Levi came through. "Hang on. Something's happening online. The video, it's going viral." Harry quickly opened up Savannah's social media accounts. What he saw made his breath catch. The video was everywhere. Savannah's followers, once so adoring, were turning on her en masse. Comments ranged from disappointment to outright vitriol. "How could you do this to your family?" "Unfollowing. I can't support a cheater. So much for family values. You're disgusting." As Harry watched, notifications poured in. Brand Savannah had partnered with publicly cutting ties. Her follower count was plummeting by the minute. A part of him felt grim satisfaction, but mostly he felt tired, bone-deep exhausted. His phone rang. "Savannah." "Harry," her voice was panicked. "Harry, you have to help me. There's this video. People are saying horrible things. I don't know what to do." Harry's laugh was hollow. "Now you want my help? After everything you've done?" "Please," Savannah was crying now. "I made a mistake. I see that now. We can fix this, can't we? For the kids." For a moment, Harry was tempted to forgive, to try and salvage what was left of their family. But then he remembered her cruel words, her dismissal of everything they'd built together. "No, Savannah," he said, his voice cold. "We can't fix this. You made your choice. Now you get to live with it." He hung up, cutting off her protests. The next few days were a whirlwind. Harry took time off work, citing a family emergency. He met with Natalie Fisher, a cutthroat divorce attorney Levi had recommended. "We've got her dead to rights," Natalie said, reviewing the evidence Harry and Levi had gathered. The video, the bank statements showing her funneling money to Roman. "We can push for full custody, minimal alimony. She'll be lucky if she walks away with anything." Harry nodded, feeling a strange mix of relief and sadness. "Do it. I want this over with as quickly as possible." As they worked out the details, Harry's phone buzzed constantly with messages from Savannah. Pleas for forgiveness, threats, accusations. He ignored them all. It was Nolan who finally forced him to address the situation with the kids. "Dad," the boy said one evening, his young face serious. "What's going on with Mom? Kids at school are saying weird stuff?" Harry sighed, gesturing for Nolan to sit. "Buddy, we need to talk. You and Isla both." Once the children were settled, Harry took a deep breath. "Your mom and we're going to be getting a divorce." Isla's lower lip trembled. "Is it because of the bad video?" Harry's heart clenched. Of course they'd heard about it. "It's complicated, sweetheart, but I want you both to know that none of this is your fault. Your mom and I both love you very much. But she doesn't love you anymore?" Nolan's voice was small hurt. Harry chose his words carefully. Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes. Big mistakes. And those mistakes have consequences. "Is Mom going away?" Isla asked. "For a little while, yes," Harry said gently. "But you'll still see her. We're going to figure all of that out." As he held his crying children, Harry felt his resolve harden. He would protect them no matter what, even if it meant being the bad guy in Savannah's story. The day of the first divorce hearing arrived all too quickly. Harry entered the courthouse flanked by Natalie and Levi, his face a mask of determination. Savannah was already there, looking pale and drawn. Her once immaculate appearance was noticeably disheveled. When she saw Harry, she rushed over. "Harry, please," she begged, grabbing his arm. We don't have to do this. We can work it out. For the kids, don't. Harry cut her off, shaking free of her grip. Don't you dare use our children as a shield, Savannah. Not after what you've done. Savannah's eyes flashed. What I've done? You're the one who leaked that video. You destroyed my career, my reputation. You did that all on your own. Harry's voice was ice. I just made sure everyone saw the real you. Before Savannah could respond, Natalie stepped between them. Mrs. Grayson, I suggest you speak to your lawyer. The hearing is about to begin. In the courtroom, Savannah's lawyer tried to paint her as the victim. A woman stifled by traditional marriage, seeking fulfillment and self-discovery. My client was driven to her actions by years of emotional neglect, the lawyer argued. Mr. Grayson's rigid adherence to outdated family values left Mrs. Grayson feeling trapped and unfulfilled. Harry gritted his teeth, but Natalie's hand on his arm kept him silent. When it was their turn, Natalie was ruthless. She presented the video, the financial records, testimonies from other women Roman had conned. Your Honor, Natalie said, her voice ringing through the courtroom, Mrs. Grayson didn't just betray her husband. She betrayed her entire family. She funneled family funds to her lover, a known con artist. She neglected her children in pursuit of her own selfish desires. And when caught, she showed no remorse. Instead, she tried to manipulate the situation, painting herself as the victim. Savannah's sobs echoed in the quiet courtroom, but Harry remained unmoved. He'd shed his tears in private. Now, all he felt was a grim determination to see this through. The judge's ruling was swift and decisive. Full custody to Harry, with Savannah granted supervised visitation. Minimal alimony, given Savannah's infidelity and misuse of family funds. As they left the courthouse, Savannah made one last attempt to reach Harry. You've ruined me, she hissed, her eyes red-rimmed but furious. Are you happy now? Harry looked at her for the first time in weeks. He saw not the woman he'd loved for 15 years, but a stranger. Someone capable of betraying not just him, but their children. Happiness has nothing to do with it, Savannah, he said quietly. This is justice. For me, for our kids. I hope it was worth it. With that, he turned and walked away, Levi at his side, leaving Savannah alone on the courthouse steps. That night, as Harry tucked Nolan and Isla into bed, he felt a weight lift from his shoulders. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but at least now they could begin to heal. Dad! Isla's small voice pulled him from his thoughts. Is Mom ever coming home? Harry's heart ached, but he knew he had to be honest. No, sweetheart. Mom's not coming home, but that doesn't mean she doesn't love you. And it definitely doesn't mean that I'm going anywhere. I'll always be here for you both. Always. As he kissed his children goodnight, Harry made a silent vow. He would rebuild their lives stronger than before, and he would never, ever let anyone hurt his family again. Later, sitting alone in the quiet house, Harry's phone buzzed with a text from Levi. You okay, brother? Harry stared at the message for a long moment before replying. No, but I will be. We all will be. He set the phone down and leaned back, closing his eyes. The journey wasn't over far from it. But for the first time in months, Harry felt like he could breathe again. Whatever came next, he was ready to face it. For himself and for his children. The months following the divorce hearing were a time of adjustment for Harry and the children. Each day brought new challenges, but also small victories as they settled into their new normal. One crisp autumn morning, Harry stood in the kitchen, packing lunches for Nolan and Isla. The routine was familiar now, but it still felt strange to be doing it alone. Dad! Nolan's voice broke through his thoughts. Can I ask you something? Harry turned, giving his son his full attention. Of course, buddy. What's on your mind? Nolan fidgeted with the strap of his backpack. Some kids at school were talking. They said Mom's trying to get custody of us again. Is that true? Harry's jaw clenched, but he kept his voice calm. Where did you hear that? Tommy's mom told him. She said she saw Mom at the courthouse. Taking a deep breath, Harry knelt down to Nolan's level. Listen to me, Nolan. Your mom, she's going through a tough time right now. She might be trying to change things, but I promise you, nothing is going to happen that you don't know about. Okay. Nolan nodded, but his eyes were still worried. You won't let her take us away, right? Harry pulled his son into a tight hug. Never. You and Isla are staying right here with me. That's a promise. As the kids headed off to school, Harry's mind raced. He hadn't heard anything about Savannah trying to regain custody. But if she was... He pulled out his phone and dialed Natalie's number. Harry. Natalie's voice was professional as always. I was just about to call you. We've received a motion from Savannah's new lawyer. She's pushing for joint custody. Harry's free hand curled into a fist. On what grounds? The judge was clear. She's claiming she's turned her life around. Natalie cut in. Completed counseling. Ended her relationship with Roman. She's presenting herself as a changed woman who deserves another chance with her children. That's bullshit, Harry spat. It's been what? 3 months? People don't change that fast. I agree, Natalie said. And we'll fight this. But Harry, you need to be prepared. These cases can get ugly. After hanging up, Harry leaned against the kitchen counter, trying to steady his breathing. Just when he thought they were moving forward, Savannah had to drag them back into the fight. His phone buzzed again. A text from Levi. Heard about Savannah's latest move. You okay? Harry typed back quickly. No, but I will be. Can you meet later? Levi's response was immediate. Always. Your place? 8 p.m. That evening, after getting the kids settled with a movie, Harry and Levi sat in the backyard, beers in hand. So, what's the plan? Levi asked, his expression serious. Harry took a long pull from his beer before answering. We fight. Again. I'm not letting her anywhere near the kids. Not after everything she's done. Levi nodded slowly. I've been doing some digging. That counseling she claims to have done? It's with a center run by one of Roman's old associates. The whole changed woman act? It's just that an act. I'm not surprised, Harry said bitterly. But will that be enough? What if the judge buys her rehabilitation story? We won't let that happen. Levi's voice was firm. I've got more. Remember those other women Roman conned? A few of them are willing to testify. Show the court that this is just another manipulation tactic. Harry felt a glimmer of hope. You think that'll work? It's a start, Levi said. But Harry, you need to be prepared. Savannah's desperate. There's no telling what she might do. As if on cue, Harry's phone lit up with a call from an unknown number. With a sense of foreboding, he answered. Harry, Savannah's voice was soft, almost timid. Please don't hang up. I need to talk to you. Harry's grip on the phone tightened. There's nothing to talk about, Savannah. Not unless it's through our lawyers. Please, she pleaded. I know I've made mistakes. Horrible mistakes. But I'm trying to make things right. For the kids, don't, Harry cut her off, his voice hard. Don't you dare use our children as a bargaining chip. They're my children too. Savannah's voice rose. You can't keep them from me forever, Harry. I have rights? Harry laughed bitterly. You gave up those rights when you chose Roman over your family. When you humiliated us, betrayed us. I've changed, Savannah insisted. I've gotten help. I've ended things with Roman. Why can't you see that? Because I know you, Savannah, Harry said, his voice low and controlled. The real you. Not the image you project to the world, but the selfish, manipulative person underneath. And that person doesn't change. Not in 3 months, not ever. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. When Savannah spoke again, her voice was cold. You'll regret this, Harry. I'll see you in court. The line went dead. Harry lowered the phone, his hand shaking slightly. Levi watched him with concern. Savannah? He asked. Harry nodded, running a hand over his face. She's not backing down. Then neither do we, Levi said firmly. We'll fight this, Harry. Every step of the way. The next few weeks were a flurry of activity. Harry met with Natalie almost daily, going over their strategy. Levi worked tirelessly, gathering evidence and lining up witnesses. Through it all, Harry did his best to shield Nolan and Isla from the worst of it. But kids were perceptive, and he could see the toll the ongoing conflict was taking on them. One night, as he tucked Isla into bed, she asked in a small voice, Daddy, why doesn't Mommy love us anymore? The question hit Harry like a physical blow. He sat on the edge of Isla's bed, choosing his words carefully. Sweetheart, your mom, she does love you. In her own way. But sometimes, Grown-ups make choices that hurt the people they love. It doesn't mean the love isn't there. It just means they have a lot of growing up to do themselves. Isla's brow furrowed. But will she ever grow up? Will she ever come back? Harry's heart ached. I don't know, honey. But what I do know is that you and Nolan are the most important people in my life. And no matter what happens with your mom, that will never change. Okay. Isla nodded, her small arms wrapping around Harry's neck. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, sweetheart. More than anything. As the court date approached, tensions ran high. Savannah's PR campaign was in full swing, painting herself as a reformed woman who had made mistakes but deserved a second chance. Harry, on Natalie's advice, remained silent publicly. But privately, he seethed every time he saw Savannah's tearful interviews or carefully staged photo ops with her support group. The morning of the hearing, Harry stood in front of his bedroom mirror, adjusting his tie. He barely recognized the man staring back at him, older, harder, with lines of stress etched around his eyes. A knock at the door jolted him from his thoughts. It was Nolan, already dressed in his school uniform. Dad, the boy's voice was hesitant. Are you okay? Harry forced a smile. I'm fine, buddy. Just a big day ahead. Nolan stepped closer, his young face serious. Is this about Mom? Is she really trying to take us away? Harry knelt down, placing his hands on Nolan's shoulders. Listen to me. No one is taking you or Isla anywhere. I promise you that. Your mom. She's trying to change things, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen. Okay. Nolan nodded, but his eyes were still worried. Can't we just tell the judge we want to stay with you? Harry's heart swelled with love and pride for his son. It's not that simple, buddy. But knowing that you and Isla want to be here, that means everything to me. And I promise, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that's exactly what happens. At the courthouse, Harry was immediately surrounded by his support team. Natalie, cool and confident as always. Levi, a solid presence at his side. And to his surprise, a group of women he recognized from Levi's investigation, Roman's other victims, there to testify on his behalf. As they waited to be called in, Harry caught sight of Savannah across the lobby. She was surrounded by her own entourage, her lawyer, a few women he assumed were from her support group. And was that a camera crew? Levi followed his gaze and muttered, Unbelievable. She's turning this into a media circus. Before Harry could respond, Savannah spotted him. She broke away from her group, heading straight for him with a determined look in her eye. Harry, she said, her voice sickly sweet. Can we talk? Just for a moment. Harry stood his ground, Levi and Natalie flanking him protectively. Anything you have to say, you can say to my lawyer, Savannah. Savannah's eyes narrowed. Always hiding behind your team, aren't you? Too afraid to face me one-on-one? Afraid? Harry's laugh was harsh. No, Savannah. I'm just done playing your games. You want to talk? We'll do it in there. He jerked his head towards the courtroom, where every word is on record. For a moment, Savannah's mask slipped, revealing a flash of the anger underneath. But she quickly composed herself, especially as her camera crew drew closer. Fine, she said, her voice breaking just enough to sound emotional for the cameras. If that's how you want to do this, but Harry, please think of the children. They need their mother. It took every ounce of Harry's self-control not to lash out. Instead, he leaned in close, his voice low and intense. No, Savannah. What they need is stability, safety, love that doesn't come with conditions. And that's exactly what I'm going to make sure they have with or without you. With that, he turned and walked into the courtroom, leaving Savannah sputtering in his wake. The hearing was grueling. Savannah's lawyer painted a picture of a woman who had made mistakes but had seen the error of her ways. They presented certificates from her counseling sessions, tearful statements from her support group about her journey of self-discovery. Your Honor, Savannah's lawyer argued, my client has done everything asked of her and more. She's committed to being the mother her children deserve. To deny her the chance to be part of their lives would be cruel, not just to Mrs. Grayson, but to the children themselves. Throughout it all, Harry sat stone-faced, his hands clenched under the table. But when it was their turn, Natalie was ruthless. She presented evidence that Savannah's counseling was a sham run by associates of Roman. She called up the other women Roman had conned, each telling a story eerily similar to Savannah's supposed transformation. But it was Harry's testimony that truly turned the tide. "Your Honor," he said, his voice steady and clear, "I've known Savannah for over 15 years. I've seen her at her best, and I've seen her at her worst. And what I've learned is that the woman sitting here today, claiming to have changed, she's always been there, underneath the surface." He took a deep breath, his eyes never leaving the judge. "This isn't about redemption or second chances. This is about protecting my children from a person who has shown, time and time again, that her own desires come before their well-being. A person who, even now, is more concerned with how she looks to the cameras than with the damage she's doing to our kids." Harry's voice broke slightly, but he pushed on. "I'm not asking you to punish Savannah. I'm asking you to see through the act and do what's best for Nolan and Isla. They deserve stability, Your Honor. They deserve to feel safe in their own home. And right now, the only way to ensure that is to maintain the current custody arrangement." The courtroom was silent as Harry finished. Even Savannah seemed stunned, her carefully crafted mask slipping to reveal a mix of anger and fear. In the end, the judge's decision was clear. The current custody arrangement would stand, with Savannah's visitation rights remaining supervised and limited. As they left the courthouse, Harry felt a weight lift from his shoulders. It wasn't over. He knew Savannah well enough to know she wouldn't give up easily. But for now, his children were safe. That was all that mattered. Weeks passed, and life settled into a new rhythm. Harry threw himself into his work, earning a promotion that allowed him more flexibility to be there for Nolan and Isla. The kids, while still processing everything that had happened, seemed happier, more settled. One sunny Saturday, as Harry watched Nolan and Isla playing in the backyard, Levi joined him on the porch. "You did good, brother," Levi said, clapping Harry on the shoulder. "Those kids are lucky to have you." Harry smiled, but it was tinged with sadness. "I just wish it hadn't come to this, that they could have had both parents who put them first." Levi nodded solemnly. "I know, but you can't control Savannah's choices. All you can do is be the best dad you can be. And from where I'm standing, you're knocking it out of the park." As if to punctuate Levi's words, Nolan called out, "Dad, come play with us." Harry's smile widened. "Duty calls," he said to Levi, before jogging out to join his children. That evening, after the kids were in bed, Harry sat in his study, going through some work emails. A notification popped up, a new message in his personal inbox. His breath caught as he saw the sender, Savannah. For a long moment, his cursor hovered over the delete button, but something made him hesitate. With a sigh, he opened the email. It was long, rambling. Savannah poured out her heart, apologizing for everything she'd done, begging for forgiveness, asking for another chance to be part of their children's lives. "I know I've made terrible mistakes," she wrote, "but they're my children too, Harry. Please, can't we find a way to co-parent? To give Nolan and Isla the family they deserve?" As he read, Harry felt a familiar ache in his chest. Part of him, a small, naive part, wanted to believe her, wanted to think that maybe, just maybe, she had changed. But then he remembered the cruel words, the betrayal, the way she'd used their children as pawns in her game, the look in Nolan's eyes when he asked if Mom was trying to take them away. Slowly, deliberately, Harry moved his cursor to the bottom of the email. He clicked reply and typed 2 words. "No. Goodbye." He hit send, then blocked Savannah's email address. Standing up, Harry walked to the window, looking out at the quiet street. He thought of Nolan and Isla, sleeping peacefully upstairs, of the life they were building together, the 3 of them. It wasn't the life he'd imagined when he first married Savannah. It wasn't perfect, but it was theirs, and he'd fight to protect it no matter what. As he turned away from the window, Harry caught sight of his reflection. The man looking back at him was older, wiser, battle-scarred, but also stronger, more determined. He was a father, a protector, and nothing, not Savannah, not Roman, not anyone would ever change that. With a sense of finality, Harry switched off his computer and headed upstairs. Tomorrow was a new day, another chance to be the father his children deserved, and that, he realized, was all that mattered.